evening, Ben with the Robot.
That old black magic has me in its spell.
Oh, that's good stuff.
That old black magic that you weave so well.
Oh, yeah.
I got those icy, icy fingers up and down my spine. The same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine.
Ah, that's good stuff.
That same old tingle I
All
feel
right.
inside. And then
Sorry. What, Karkin?
It's like we're in the DS9 holodeck right now.
Karkin is, so there's something going on. Like, his is so distorted, if there's any other audio, it just flushes him out. I know. It's good. Let's see what else we got in here. Only one or two more real quick because the timer's up and running now. Oh, my God! Yeah! Ba-da-da-da-da-da. All right, I like it. Oh yeah, that was great stuff right there, like that. Let's see, what else do we have in here that we can play very quickly before we start the show? Actually, we should probably just go ahead and hit the button, right? Should we go ahead and hit the button? Karkin, should we hit the button?
The button.
Should we press the button? The press?
We always hit the button.
Let's press the button.
Hit the button multiple
Pressing
times.
the button. Good evening. Welcome in. Appreciate you guys all being here. What's going on? Happy Halloween. I feel like I should be DJing tonight. Matters, I feel like we should just switch on over. Hey, what do you think? What do you say we do a really quick stream, and then we'll raid over to ourselves?
Oh, that would be a fun trip.
Should we do a really quick show and then raid over to ourselves and do a Halloween party? Maybe we should. Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the show. This is Talking Trek Live, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast. You guys hit it up in the chat on the Halloween edition of the server sound off. You guys go ahead and punch it in the chat. What's going on? Spectre kicking us off on server 11, brah. Dr. Juby on server 60, bruh. Papa Smurf on server 61, Silverhawk on 49, Vic on 40, and Dominus Prime on 53. And Hani says, I'm here, just not sure what server on anymore. There's that. Tarpy on 70. Thank you. Cruzito on 13. Check on 84. Sherlock Holmes on server 27. Thank you. Tycon on 33. Dr. Iron Chef says, aloha from the scarily beaten down server 14. And, oh, that's right. Incursions were today. I have not even looked at our score. I will show you guys our score for the first time, me even checking. I have no idea how we're doing. Karkin, don't reveal anything. What's up? And Hani, server 10. Juby wants to know if anybody made it up the mountain for trick-or-treating. Wouldn't know. No, obviously nobody came up the mountain, and I don't stay here. I took Oliver out trick-or-treating. I've got a beautiful photo of him. He went as Stitch.
Nice.
Stitch. Lilo and
I
Stitch.
love it.
Yeah. What's up, Papa Smurf? Vic, Missing Cubes on 45. Everywhere It Matters on 55. Raj on 9. Incursions are Friday. Oh, okay. See, then I didn't have anything to worry about. I had nothing absolutely to worry about. Okay, everything's fine. Everything's good. Striker on 49. Strider on 70. Bender the Robot on 51. Stealth Monkey on server 89. Engineer on 89 as well. Good evening to you one and all. Good evening. Welcome into the show. Whoa. Thank you, guys. Daggone 89 additional messages, and it looks like we've got about 230 of you in the live studio audience. You guys are amazing. No costume. Kirok, of course I'm wearing a costume. Absolutely I'm wearing a costume. I am pretending to be a streamer. See, a popular one. I'm pretending to be a good streamer. See, I figured Iron Chef would love that. Yeah, there you go, Iron Chef. Honestly, I had absolutely nothing planned. And I was in the house, and I'm thinking, all right, I got to put on something. And I found Oliver's chicken costume from last year. And I thought, okay, I could put that on, but that was a little snug because, you know, it was Oliver's costume. And then I saw this, and I'm like, ooh, I'll just pretend to be a successful streamer instead. So there's that. Yes, I'll throw a shield. Thank you guys very much. I did not throw a shield. But I will show you very quickly, and this is in the graphics room, right smack dab up front, beginning of the show. I will show you guys Oliver's trick-or-treat picture. He decided to go as Stitch this year. Now, the picture that I took, Matters, is kind of hilarious because I took him over to a buddy's house. All right, this is a friend of mine who always really plays up the whole Halloween stuff. So Oliver goes up and gets the candy and doesn't realize what is actually standing behind him. And so what he does is he just slowly and steadily moves closer and closer. So this picture I took, I've got 2 or 3 of them as he just keeps getting closer and closer to Oliver. This is the only one I had loaded up in Discord, but yeah, that's my buddy back there. So eventually he came right up to him, and when Oliver turned around, oh my God, I think he peed. All right. Dragon Keeper says, DJ wearing the Scopely. No, it's the Aloha Diz. This is Dr. Iron Chef's channel. I'm pretending to be a successful streamer. Did you get it? God, Trash Keeper. It's not funny if I have to explain it to you. So anyway, that's Stitch up there. Isn't he cute? Look at the little Stitch teeth. And he just couldn't. He was already eating his candy. I mean, do all kids eat their candy as they're trick or treating now? Seems like that's a thing. He was.
Why not?
Dude, he just. Oh, you sound so much better, Jules. Ladies and gentlemen, JulesVern is here. What's up, mate? What you doing, mate?
Just hanging out with you.
Happy Halloween.
You got a cute kid.
I know Silver Tab, a real streamer. Not me, okay? Iron Chef, the one who has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I'm not jealous or anything. Would I DJ? No, not tonight. Probably not. It's going to be late. I got work tomorrow. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. But I plan on doing something this weekend, most likely. I might even try
and
to.
Jules has a lot of information to give, apparently.
That's right. Jules has at least 7 minutes worth of content to give to you guys tonight, so we should probably get into that. But
yeah, it'll take 3 hours to get through.
Really? 3 hours?
No. Well, it's DJ's time. If it's 7 minutes of content, it's going to take 3 hours to get through it.
No, we'll get through it in 2.5 tonight. But we do have to. Jonathan says, please tell Jonathan Ingram to stop doing to our server what he does to you on YouTube. Why would I tell him that? He's clearly and obviously scoring points for us. I have not even looked at Incursion. This is the first time I'm logging in to my game all day. So let's just see. I got all kinds of buttons to press. Let me press through the buttons, and we'll see. Oh, my goodness gracious. How many candy corn have I eaten? None today. None today. Are you talking about in the game? I've eaten a few thousand. All right, let's see. Infinite Incursion. All right, for those of you in podcast form, I don't even know that I should read this score. Never mind. I totally will. 15 is destroying 14 by a score of 558 trillion to 58 trillion. It sounds more dramatic when I just said 58, but yeah. So Jonathan Ingram must have found, and I was shielded. Yes, I was shielded. And I know that 14 is probably upset about the fact that I was shielded. 15 was scared to death. I must have gotten dozens of maybe not dozens, at least 15 messages asking me to shield because I'm currently, Jules, holding over 140 trillion soft resources. That's non-Sigma. All right.
And you have a track record.
I have a track record. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and extend my shield now. I'm just going to go ahead and throw up a one-day shield. I have 140 trillion soft resources. I'm not kidding you, Karkin. I probably got 15 messages. All right, 15. That was like, hey, just please, throw a shield. Move out of territory. All right. Yep. Thank you.
Were those individual people or all just like multiple persons sending multiple messages?
It could have been the same person on 15 different accounts. That actually happened tonight, didn't it, Cruzito? Somebody was posing as me on Bafty's channel. All right. There was apparently a fight between the Ultimate DJs tonight. And Griffin just texted me. Hey, buddy, it's showtime. He might be trick or treating. He's got
that age.
Yeah, he is that age. He might be trick or treating.
Is he going as Blue Griffin?
That's hilarious.
Right? Nobody would see it come.
That's funny. Listen, a couple of thank yous real quick. Check. Thank you. Happy 9 months. Happy Twitch baby anniversary to you. Trekkie, 25 months with the best DJ. Oh, thanks. You're awesome, dude. Thank you. Jace is the man, 25 months. Tibbs with the big old raid. Tibbs. Aw. Tibbs, did you hear that somebody else has already trapped me into a Christmas Angel Fund goal this year? Right over here, $60,000. We got $7,000 already knocked out of the way. Tibbs, it's so much worse this year. All right, it's so much worse. It's not even about the armpit thing anymore. Now they're gonna make me shave my eyebrows. Yeah. They're going to make me shave my eyebrows. Look at this. Look at your screen here. I'm going to put this up. This is in the graphics room already. Check this out. Right here, Tibbs. This is what they want to do to me. Right here. This is what they want to do to me if we hit the $60,000. They want to shave my head and my eyebrows, which
beautiful.
I told my boss about it, and they just laughed. I don't feel like they realize that it's going to happen. I don't think they realize it's going to happen. I'm just saying. It's possible.
And if we don't make the 60,000, we'll only shave half his head and one eyebrow.
Negative.
Alternate side.
Alternate sides. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that's going. Master Viper with the 22-month resub. Dr. 4KO, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Skeletor and Alpha Zypher, thank you guys for the resubs. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. Uncle Fester the streamer. No, really? That's what Griffin said. He said it looks very much like Uncle Fester. Listen, thank you, Raj, for your 31 kitty bitties. Appreciate that very much. Fisty says that's going to be even better than the waxing fiasco. All right. Yeah, I don't know about all that. This is going to be pretty traumatic. But here's the thing. It's got lasting effects. It's going to last all throughout my... how long is it going to take to grow my eyebrows back? Probably like a couple of months, right? I mean, right?
Don't worry. You can draw them on.
The Sharpie.
Thank you so much. All right. Listen, we've got a lot to get to. Like I said, at least 2.5 hours worth of content to get to tonight. So before we get deep and nerdy, it is time for
an eraser. Don't get the permanent one so that you can change it when you get upset. So you can draw it angry. equate my emotions on my face.
My
Angry eyebrows. Here we
I'll
go.
just draw them. Like, okay, erase, and then I'll put them right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be 4 hours. I can't. I got to work tomorrow. But we do have Jules Vern's been working on this for weeks and weeks. We've got the ultimate guide, the ultimate entry guide to. I just knocked over my camera. It's gone forever. All right, hang on. I just knocked a camera. Wrong button. Everything has gone to hell now. All right, hold on. What? What has happened here? First of all, who thought it was a good idea to put up a ring light with 3M tape? All right, I'm just going to try to... Nope, that's not going to work. This is a disaster right now, folks. All right, I'm just going to... Oh, my God! I am breaking so many things right now. You don't even know. Let me try it. Nope, that's not going to work. Nope. Ah! Do you hear it falling over?
Yeah.
It's spooky. Is it doing it by itself?
It fell over. It was right here, and then it just flopped over like that. I don't know what I'm going to do about that because there's 3M tape that's not sticking anymore.
You need more dollar store tape.
I'm so positive.
Seriously.
I'm full of positive energy.
It's what was holding it up. It's legit. It's an actual 3M strip.
God.
Iron Chef, I was trying to pretend to be a good streamer tonight. It's
I think I've
not going to
this.
work. Oh, God. Okay. No, that looks terrible. Now you can see the ring light on the camera.
Take it off. You're just not allowed to wear it.
There, does that look all right?
I think I foobot
Do I
this.
still look pretty? All right. Anyway. Thank you, Raj. Appreciate that. Jess! I did not foobar anything. Thank you. Juby says, you're a princess, bruh. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before we've got the ultimate G6 entry guide, I was trying to think of all the different ways that I could word that to be completely and wildly inappropriate, full of innuendo. And I was thinking about Jules Vern's penetration guide for G6. I thought about the best ways to go inside G6. There was a couple of them that crossed my mind, and then I just thought, okay, we'll just go with the entry guide to G6. K9 says, "Do you have a G6 exit guide yet?" Asking for a friend. So we'll see. Spectre says, "Why didn't you ask me? I could come up with 15 inappropriate names immediately." Kirok says, "The G6 spot." Oh my God! It fell down again. Oh, it's just not going to stay up, folks. Sorry. Let's see if that'll stay right there. Looks terrible. It looks awful. Now I've got shadows cast on me. This is not the right place for that light. Pro streamer. Ladies and gentlemen, live from all across the world and from the Talking Trick newsroom, it is indeed time for your stupid news headlines.
Stupid
Oh, God. It's time for the stupid news. Yo, get this. One lucky Powerball winner in Georgia won an estimated $478 million prize last week. Yeah, Georgia, $478 million. Needless to say, the winner is quoted as saying, "They felt peachy." This win, you get it. This win broke the state's nearly decade-long drought of hitting the lottery's jackpot, which means that the state's biggest losers still remain the Atlanta Falcons and the Hawks. All right, there you go. Just dropped the toy I was playing with. It's gone. It's the chew toy I always chew on. Where's my Lego separator? There, I found it.
Yeah, this will only be 2.5 hours.
Shut up. Oh, God, I just kicked it again. Oh, let's see what else we got. Film director Chad Stahelski. I say that right? Chad Stahelski says that he is not going to rule out the possibility of a John Wick 5, but noted that it probably won't happen anytime soon. So if you want to see massive brawls and tons of bloodshed, you'll have to visit your local Walmart. There you go. Bronny James in sports news. I should probably hit the sports button, right? Hold, please.
I don't know. You may break it.
I got this, Jules. I'm a pro streamer. Got this. Don't worry about a thing. I
that
got
was
this.
funny.
I got this. Don't worry
Well, you
about
got
a
the
thing. shirt. Sports news. Bronny James. Is his name Bronny? Brony? I don't actually even know how to say his real name. It's LeBron James' son. We're gonna go with Bronny. Bronny James got to play 3 minutes in his. Yeah, you guys know what's coming. He got to play 3 minutes in his Los Angeles Lakers debut, and let's just hope, for his sake, that in other facets in life he lasts longer than just the 3 minutes.
I can't believe he couldn't last 2 more minutes.
It's a Bronny James / DJ's joke. Thanks. The New York Liberty was in the news and had their championship parade in Manhattan last week. I think it was last Thursday. Does that sound right? Anybody up there in New York? You guys saw your championship parade for the New York Liberty last week. Knicks and Nets fans are walking the streets somewhat confused, though, stating and asking the obvious question, what is a championship parade? Other sports news. Let's see what else we got. I'm running out of time. Dallas Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey was absent from practice last week and could miss more time due to jury duty, which is not a big deal because the Cowboys can't actually get close enough to the end zone for him to actually be needed. So there's that. There is no word yet on what case he may be assigned to yet, but rumors are that quarterback Dak Prescott is being tried for robbing the Cowboys of $240 million. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just stupid news. Oh, there was a lot of sports stuff in there tonight. Q says, that's my team. Take it back. Sorry. Tarpy says, stupid news. DJ's lost his rod-shaped fidget toy, so he had to find his blue balls. Actually, if I could show you, I would. But currently, the ring light is being propped up on one of the blue balls right now because it's falling off the stand because somebody thought it was a good idea to tape it up. I mean, that's a terrible idea. Who the hell thought that was a good idea? I don't know.
You should use blue spheres instead.
I should use what?
Blue spheres. Blue balls to keep it up.
I'm sure there's something sticky you could use.
Alien tape works great. That's a real product. Look into it.
Thank you. I might look for some Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape would be good. But yeah, right now my ring light is just sitting down on the desk, and it's making me very upset because it was sticking up here in a perfect spot, and the lighting was great. But now it's down here, and the lighting's not right. See, look, I got a shadow. Look, you can see the shadow. God, it's annoying for someone who's such a pro streamer like myself.
Tarpy.
What did Tarpy write? Tarpy? I can't even say that out loud.
No. He's turning to DJs After Dark already.
I can't even say that out loud, Tarpy. Behave yourself. God, talking about rings and spheres. Anywho, good evening, everybody. This is a terrible idea. We should not be doing a show tonight, Jules. What is
No,
wrong?
we can talk about the G6 spot.
All right. You heard it, everybody. I am just going to turn off my mic and let JulesVern talk all about the G. I'm fidgeting and losing everything tonight. I'm terrible. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I ate too much sugar. I obviously had the dad tax. All right. So I went trick-or-treating with Oliver, and clearly I ate too much candy. My God.
You have to check everything for razor blades and stuff.
Yeah, I'm wired. Jules, I'm going to turn my mic off. You just go. I'm going to click buttons that you tell me to click. Where do I click first?
Open the presentation.
Oh!
That I prepared for you.
Yes, I have a presentation, everybody. Here we go. Presentation time. Got it. Welcome. It says, I'm in dark mode. How do I?
Can you just go to slideshow? We'll go hit slideshow. See if that works.
Where's the slideshow button?
Top right.
Oh, there we go.
It says slideshow on it.
Oh, no, I'm in dark mode. I'm in dark mode. How do I?
Well, this is
Hold on.
awkward.
God,
totally made it so it would not be bright white.
Okay, hang on. I obviously can fix this because I'm a pro streamer. Okay, I'm going to click for the podcast audience.
We'll be back in 10 minutes, everybody.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is absolutely terrible. Isn't there? Isn't there
shirt. Go change your shirt. That's the problem.
It's the shirt, Iron Chef. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna turn off dark mode. Relaunch Chrome.
Quality.
Hey. Yo. Look what I
Nailed
did.
it.
Look what I did.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, listen, as we go through, I've got a presentation that I'm going to copy into the graphics room, all right? That way, those of you listening in podcast form will be able to go through this entire thing, and you'll be able to listen along if that is indeed what you feel like you can manage to do through this painfully terrible introduction to probably what is an amazing content, but I've already ruined it, all right? So at this point, I am going to just and I'm going to let JulesVern take the lead. Jules, this is a project that you've been working on for quite some time. I know that it is something that a lot of the community has talked about, but this, I feel, has changed a lot. Like, this presentation wouldn't have been the same presentation 6 months ago. All right. And I see some people joking in the chat right now. Check says this should only have 2 slides. The next one's going to say don't do it. But I disagree right now.
Nice.
I think that early G6 is actually structured really well. And I believe that what we will probably see later on down the road are continued economy adjustments that are going to make G6 probably one of the better scaled economies as far as an expansion goes. Now, I know that that sounds kind of crazy to say, but a lot of players, even the G6 players that went through it early, had talked about, Jules, that Ops 60 through probably at the time 63 to 64 were very simple, very affordable is what they said. And then, of course, the cash equivalent became much more expensive as time went on, but that was literally paying cash from progression. As we are approaching the birthday of G6, they've continued to shift that economy a little bit. And I believe that they have done it in such a way that is unusual for Scopely, in that they are adjusting this kind of like 1 or 2 ops levels at a time. It's almost like every couple of months, another ops level becomes a little bit more grindable. And, I was even looking at some content. I was watching some content that Rev did the other day with a free-to-play player who has, in fact, reached G6. And a lot of the stuff that he was talking about, Jules, is a lot of the stuff that you're going to focus on here tonight about some of the strategies and some of the key things that you need to look out for as you enter in to G6. Tarpy says that I'm going to have to hide from all the rotten tomatoes in here, but I don't know. I think JulesVern's put together a pretty decent guide for the free-to-play entry, or at least the low spend and heavy engagement entry into G6. So, Jules, it has been a year now that G6 economy has been around. Is it different today than when it launched?
Yeah, I mean that's clear that it's different, and I think a large portion of that difference has to do with things that they've added to accelerate the economies in all fields. So getting to Op 60 is a lot easier. Getting some income to Sigma resources, which was a pain point for G6 players before, it's becoming a lot easier with all of these additions they're making to the game. But really, what this guide is not just like, hey, here's what's changed in the last 6 months. It's now, let's take a look at what it is now. Let's take a look at what you need to do to be prepared for G6, and a little bit of an intro guide because either you don't have alliance mates to talk to who are in G6 that can kind of walk you through what the first struggle points are going to be. So this is hopefully just going to help you, give you some information on that. So the next slide is going to be just about knowing when you're ready. I think this has always been a conversation. So just so everyone's clear, one of the key mechanics, when you turn Op 60, a claim chest will show up called Ad Astra per Aspera, and that is going to have the ascend keys to go forward. So you don't need to have an epic ship to hit an armada. You don't have to do that. All you need to do is claim this, and this will allow you to go to G6. But you may not want to go to G6 right away. Here's a couple of key points. These are things that I have kind of ascertained based on the lab, who has provided a lot of the feedback for this presentation here. But one of them is 900 warp is the base entry for most G6 systems. So how are you going to achieve 900 warp? We'll kind of go through that. We'll also talk a little bit about the SOB bracket changes, some of the solo milestone rewards, and actually how to achieve those. And then how can you look ahead? Because you can't actually reach a level 61 FKR hostile before your G6. That's locked for you. So how do you know when you're ready? We've got a couple of comparisons you can look at. So first things first is warp range. Now, I've compiled this next slide. I've compiled a chart here that kind of shows you warp range possibilities to G6. First, you've got your taxis. Now, at this point, to get to the taxis, you're spending money to use the taxis to get to G6 space. That's either the disco with, at least $250 worth of primes.
Boo! Sorry.
Yep. I hear you. So the other option is your eviscerator. But right now, most free-to-play eviscerators are at best, tier 6, maybe tier 7. So that's not even an option right now for anybody free-to-play. It probably won't be another option for another 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get the eviscerator up to a point where it's usable. So now you're looking at, if you're kind of concerned about warships, you're looking at, okay, I think I have to build a G5 Epic just to start getting to G6 space. Because right now, G5 rares can't get there. Now, there is a way to get there with a G5 rare, and this is using all of the tools available, essentially. Whether you have Fleet Commander Kirk and a high enough command center to have his bonus up to the point where you have a warp range higher, whether that's putting Grush on your ship, and that has to be in the bridge, so that's going to affect what kind of crewing you do, or whether you've acquired the Slipstream Forbidden Tech and can equip that to your ship in order to get there. Dragon Keeper is also bringing up a good point. The NX-01 can bring you there, and you can reload into certain systems that have housing. That's not going to get you everywhere you may want to go, but it is definitely a viable option. So if you can find the housing systems that have the correct hostile for you to hit, that'd be great. That's not always viable, especially in silent systems, for instance. That's not going to be viable to do that.
So if I'm looking at this correctly, and chat, excuse me, chat for our podcast audience, for those who are listening on this particular slide, which is, again, everything in the graphics room, we're looking at these warp range possibilities. In that middle section, this is the one that I think that I think right here, this is an important one to note, because this is kind of where you guys advised me on where I needed to be before I went into G6, which was a tier 5 G5 Epic. Now, tier 5 is expensive at least as far as the resources and so forth. But it is very, very free to play. And if you have been playing, especially at Op 60 for a couple of minutes, then you probably have. And by the way, if you have built your ships in an appropriate fashion, as in I built the Dailies first, right? So I didn't build any other battleships. So my entire time spent throughout G5, I was accumulating the G5 battleship parts. And that allowed me to pretty much instantly take my Dailies to tier 5. Moreover, if you're looking at a jelly loop, all right, for those of you who have spent on the multi-tier primes, on the Dolomite primes, if you've got those parts good enough to where you're actually scrapping jellies, then you're going to do pretty, I mean, that can lead to being able to take care of an enterprise as well, because it will let you build the Enterprise A, and then, of course, once you get to 60, you can scrap that Enterprise A. And that will get you into an Enterprise D. So we're looking at this chart. You're telling me, Jules, that with a Tier 5 G5 Epic combined with Fleet Commander Kirk, combined with a Grush, a Max Grush, which, by the way, is very free to play, all right? I don't know. Where does Grush become grindable? He's early, right?
Syndicate level 25?
25.
Right in the beginning.
So Syndicate 25, to be perfectly frank, and I don't know, I might be off on this, but I don't believe that anybody should not have a maxed Grush unless, let me rephrase, anybody who was able to be Syndicate 25 when he launched, they've had enough time to max that officer. Okay, they've absolutely had enough time to max that officer. So Grush is Syndicate exclusive Spectre, but he is time-based. All right, you get shards of him every single day. So he is, depending. Now, if you just hit Syndicate 25 a year ago or 6 months ago, then maybe not. But those of you who are around when Syndicate 25 launched, all right, you absolutely can max.
That's a lie. It's level 5. Level 5, you start getting.
It's got to be way earlier.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, then there's really not much excuse at this point. Again, unless you just started the game very recently. But Max Grush is very, very obtainable. The bigger challenge here, I think, would be Fleet Commander Kirk because it requires Command Center 50, although...
It doesn't require Command Center 50. It requires Command Center 40, but the actual skill that we're talking about has a very low bonus until you get to Command Center 50, in which you can bring them up to level 14, which gives around 12.8%. Obviously, too, with these, I'm using what I think are achievable values for a player who's about to enter G6, and I'm not using all the values because there's a lot of variability here. There's other warp range bonuses that could be applied in these in particular places. For instance, if you're using Explorer, you could use TOS Scotty, but that's not really recommended. So this is just kind of a reference point.
Sure.
I do agree. Tier 5 G5 Epic is a great starting point and saying, yes, I want to achieve that before I finish my Op 61 butt.
And you can, and just to kind of circle back, because I saw somebody saying, well, the Disco Primes are not free to play, and we're talking about this as a grinder's path, a very low spend or low engagement type of player. Command Center, Fleet Commander Kirk, and the Command Center 50 should be very, very close free to play right now. This does not require Disco Prime. Everything about Fleet Commander, Grush, and a G5 Epic, depending on your time spent in G5, absolutely could be very, very free to play, including some of the Dolomite research. I saw Benny Hill ask just a second ago, Jules, around what level do the Dolomite primes kind of start to profit? And I think we did this math several months ago when those primes first came out. It used to be level 6 of those primes, and I think it's actually dropped now. I think level 5 of those primes, if you've got decent other, research and the efficiency research. Jonathan Wick still says 6. I don't think it requires it. When it first came out, we said 6. All right, but
we said 7 or 8. But now with the mirror research tree, there's several nodes that decrease ship part efficiency, material efficiency. And there's going to be new things that are added.
And you got to remember those primes, the first 1,200 Dolomite particles will get you to level 5. So you're only talking one additional level to get you to 6, and that might be about where it is. I'm being told Rev just put out a video about that here about a week or two ago, so that would be a good reference as well for you to go back and refresh. But yeah, tier 6, maybe tier 7 for you to take a look at the Dolomites, and that is free to play now as well. So sorry, I didn't mean to really interrupt there, but I did want to kind of point out this is very, very, very free to play possible. Even though we're talking about the primes that are there, we can definitely note that, but it can be done without dropping cash.
And we will be giving some advice to low spend players as well, because if you're a high spend player, you've already gone all past this. So
for sure,
for us, this is really for some free to play. You can take some advice from this. Some low spend, we'll have some additional advice for you in here. Moving on, this is where Spectre says, abandon all hope, ye who enter. We're talking about the SLB brackets. Now, I've got a few options here for you. We've got our typical recruit. Yes, all G6 is bundled to one. Mirror upgrades SLB or other types of SLBs in that kind of vein of being these temporary SLBs. Yes, all G6 is lumped into one. The Chimera Wrecking regional SLB that Istio always wins. All G6. And this was brand new as of last week. The Forge of Futures is the first time I've seen an SLB being broken down to more than 2 categories of G6. So this may be a glimpse into the future of how they're going to start to break up some bracketing a little bit.
My God, it's about time.
There was one other
but this is
one
still
earlier.
regional.
I forget what it was. Some grinding leaderboard. And I wondered why like our 70s weren't beating it. And then I looked at everyone on the list, and that's because they weren't on it.
Yeah, I think this is it's the regional solo leaderboards that have thousands of people in them. For being G6, we now have more than 1,000 people in G6, so they needed to start breaking those up, especially if they're going to be regional sized alone. Moving on, you can also see some solo milestones. So there's a jump in the amount of materials that are required to get once you get to G6, but you still have G5 to start spending, and to be honest, doing a couple of G6 buildings that require uncommon materials will dramatically bump your score up. So there is a large leap in the cost in these solo milestones, but I do think it's paired with a lot of spending opportunity. And then we have the constant problem of whenever you have a ship-specific SMS, them scaling dramatically every ops level, regardless of whether you actually have a ship capable of doing that.
One of the things that I want to point out regarding the material spend events, and this is the same thing that we've actually noticed at 39 going into 40, and at 50 going into 51, and now 60 going into 61. This is, in my opinion, one of the most challenging spots. This is why players like Karkin, this is why players have held out. Blue Mandalorian has done this. Have held out at a certain ops level for a minute. And I'm not going to call it camping because they're still working on research and things like that. But there are a couple of points where they are going to be able to rack up on officers.
Don't call it camping. I call it moving in.
Fair enough. But yeah, like for example, and we've talked about this. This is an age-old problem, Jules, that Scopely has yet to actually really kind of grasp and understand. But if you are at 61, all right, there are not as many buildings that take uncommon. Like you mentioned that there's only a couple of buildings, but it is hard to spend uncommon at Op 61. Now, at Op 62, it becomes very, very simple. Okay, super fine. I would point out that if I'm looking at this, an asterisk here or a caveat to this would be if you're Op 61, you need to be prepared to do that milestone or a portion of it. You don't necessarily have to complete it. All right, that's something that we do frequently talk about. You don't have to complete it, but be prepared to do that with G5 materials. And that is a significant jump. You can see it's a jump of almost 50% in your score. But at Op 60, you're still doing it with G5. At Op 61, you're pretty much doing that with G5. Okay, so Scopely has not yet broken down that barrier. 61 is a dangerous spot to be when it comes to heroic solo milestones. All right, so be very, very aware of that. Be very, very capable, or make sure that you're capable of hitting that, because at 61, it's extremely difficult to spend G6 materials. Yet the score goes up by 50%. So do be aware of that. One thing that I would argue on the ship hostile milestone, Jules, is that freebooters remain a very viable option. Especially at 60 and 61. Because what they've done is they've largely scaled these events to allow you to punch up, right, or punch down. Now, yes, if you have to punch down, you typically have to grind more, all right? But freebooters going from 159 million to 200 million is probably about 10 to 12 extra hostiles. If I'm at 61, I'm not as scared about these hostile grind SMSs, because you can still accomplish a great deal of those with freebooters. At least that is until you get your G5 Epic to tier 5 plus, and we come back to these couple of systems on your screen. Not this one, the Hazard. There's a couple of 61 systems that are Warp 900 range where you can get up there and actually kill those level 61 hostiles if you're feeling chunky about it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're feeling up to the task. But I wouldn't necessarily be super scared, because you can still punch down to the freebooters at 60. And as Spectre points out, Mirror Universe hostiles with a protector are also very, very simple. They don't count as faction hostiles, but they will still count in a generic hostile hunt. So there's a couple of specialty hostiles that you'll be able to do there as well. Plus, if you're feeling good about the silent hostiles, Gorn, a lot of those will count when you're looking at a generic hostile. Gorn silent will count as if you're looking at a generic hostile event.
Is if you're playing an efficient game, meaning that you're only getting the ships you absolutely need to achieve your typical goals. For a lot of players, that means only one ship at each rarity, and you're generally cycling through the type it is. So you're going to do an explorer, then an interceptor, then a battleship or something like that. So you may have a ship, like for instance, an interceptor in this case, that is several rarities below where you should be. So you may not have the warp range to even hit above 60. And if you're going to go and continue, and we'll talk about this later in the game, if you're going to skip the G6 uncommon ships and you're going straight to 66, and your best interceptor is still a Sanctus, are you going to be able to achieve 2.2 billion score when you built that ship? The milestone was only 23 million. Yeah. So it could be a very different, depending on the type of player you are. Like, for instance, right now you're showing you've got a Corvus, you've got your Sanctus, and you've got 2 battleships. Now, ignoring the fact that you also have an Enterprise D out there, if that was your only Explorer, then these types of weapon select Explorer SMSs are going to get really difficult as you progress through G6. So not to say that you should build every G5 Epic, but this is just something to think about. Is this going to be a pain point for you? Are you willing to skip that event and be more efficient? For instance, especially with the recruit solo milestones, are you willing to go up when you have a tier 5 or tier 6 G5 Epic, and then use Op 61 and 62, those SMSs, to continue to pump materials into your G5 Epic to make it more serviceable? Or are you the type of player who's going to hang out at Op 60, try to win every single solo leaderboard, and then have nothing to spend materials on when you get to 61? So just food for thought.
There's 2 other things that I want to point out here, which is I was very much that player that Jules is talking about. This is why I feel like, and I maintain the opinion that G6 has been more favorable to me than G4 was, and even some of G5. Because when I finished G4 and went into G5, I literally built 3 ships. I built all 3 Romulan faction ships. I ground all the reputation. All 3 of them are 15 billion locked. But I built only a Corvus and saved those materials. After I got to tier 5, that was it. Tier 5 serviced me all the way through 56, where then I got the Sanctus, and I just pumped everything I could into that. All right. I knew that I would never want to or need to spend the interceptor parts at that point. So I dumped everything into the Sanctus. I started saving, because the Corvus was no longer necessary, started saving the Explorer parts, banking those up through the scrapping loops to eventually dump into an Enterprise D. And then, of course, I never built the battleship. So the Dailies came around. That became my epic battleship, and I got the epic Enterprise D, which then gives you 2 of those. Now, some of you are saying, well, what about the interceptor events? Well, that became my rare interceptor. It's the only thing I ever put into it. So that has continued to tier up for me. I've got it to tier 10, and it becomes pretty capable. All right. That being said, you can indeed use the cube for battleship events. If you wanted to use the cube, absolutely you can. And I do have that cube that I've been working on a little bit slowly over time. It's still not as good, as my Sanctus is. But this is kind of what I'm referring to in don't build necessarily every single ship. Or if you do, it's fine, but be prepared for the material and the part shortfalls, because really, and I hate to bring this back up, but 5 years ago, this game was intended to pursue one faction. I decided to try it out in G5, and I'm glad that I did it in G5 because, man, G5 was expensive. All right? G5 was expensive. Now, Ice Wolf says my cube still sucks at tier 10. I mean, I'm not going to say that mine doesn't suck. I'm at tier 13. It's certainly not as capable as my Dailies is. All right. But it is starting to become usable. All right. Mine is still not great at 13, but it's starting to get good. All right. Which I would imagine Jules then probably 14 or 15 is going to really start to kind of break in and be good with the cube. But even now, I've just been kind of building it in anticipation, but it's still not great. All right. Now, so that's what I'm talking about in pursuing a conservative number of ships. All right. Just to
this
preserve
comes
the
down
parts.
This comes down to play style, though. I think a lot of players are going to play it differently. You know that any free to player is not going to be building more than one G5 Epic. So for them, they're playing it efficiently. And using their cube as their second ship.
Here's the thing. The Dailies was my G5 Epic that I wanted to invest in. The Enterprise D came as a result of the Jelly Loop.
Right.
You know, I would not have built that ship intentionally and or on purpose. It came, and by the way, I do want to point out that it's still just tier 6. It is the exact same tier that it was when I did that big splurge when we first built it. All right. Mainly because it's holding on ore, but I am putting all of my ore into my Dailies. So even with the scrapping piece of it, I've got parts for days. I don't have the ore. All right. So I do want to point out that Jules is absolutely right. Working on 2 epics, I happened to build one with just the stuff I had from the scrapping loop, but I'm not even working on tearing it up because of the material shortage. So I am still, in effect, focused on one G5 Epic, even though I have a second one that I was able to kind of do with what was left over. Okay? So yeah, go ahead.
The last, so we're just going to move on. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was trying to find hostile comparisons before you reach G6 to know if you're ready. So Tarpy was able to provide us with a couple of options here. The first things first is the Mirror Universe hostiles are actually very close in difficulty to 61 plus FKR. So if you're going to go off and fight a 61, doesn't matter if it's the survey option or one of the other ship type options here, it's actually going to be a really close comparison to how well your ship is going to perform against the FKR. So it kind of gave you a little test to see how you're going to do. And then you can already reach silent enemy system. The silent systems are not gated, so you can go up to the 61 system and test your strength out against a silent enemy. Your biggest issue is going to be warp range. So you may have to wait until you have the warp range to get there, or have a taxi that can bring you there. And then just as another comparison to kind of prove how close they are, on the next slide, you'll see I did a test here with just a Monavine, which surprisingly is powerful enough to kill 61 hostiles. And you can see how close their damage output was towards me. Did the same exact thing, same crew. And as a quick reminder, I don't know if anyone's using Tal on a regular basis in their hostile grinding crew. That does not work against 61. So starting to kind of think about what are some good hostile crews to use for early G6. And for that, we have Everywhere Matters. So Matters, do you have any like quick hostile crewing advice you wanted to share?
Certainly in early G6, your biggest concern is just the size of the hostiles. The jump from the level 60 hostiles to 61 plus in strength is huge. So the crew that you've actually got on your Monavine here is actually my favorite, my go-to for when I first jumped up into G6 and started grinding hostiles. Moreau is fantastic for reducing their piercing, way better than any stat-based mitigation officer, just because their base piercing stats are so high. And then E-data is great because your isolytic damage isn't getting shrugged off by their massive mitigation. They're from their huge defense stats. So Pike Moreau E-data is a fantastic crew to use when going up against 61 plus hostiles.
Indeed.
And anyone that's fresh into G6, I'd recommend using that until you feel comfortable trying other options.
I don't know how many players are close to getting a max Janeway. I imagine it's still a little bit far off for those who haven't invested into her. But once she gets to tier 5, she actually is more powerful than NT Data. So just as a point of reference, we're using Data right now because more people probably have him maxed than have Janeway maxed. Once you get there, Pike, Moreau, Janeway, or using a Janeway-based crew, adding E-Picard or E-Data, also all great. I think the reason we're bringing these up is what we're trying to do is just hit them super hard. And this has been the general crew advice for a while now. But it's going to be interesting to see as they add more hostile Apex barrier if some of our crewing is going to change as well.
Yeah, I think it absolutely will. More Apex barrier, more isolated damage won't even matter that much. People's isolated defense is high now, really high. So yeah, Apex barrier is going to be a concern. Any other like weird ship abilities that we haven't seen yet that we're not ready for? You never know what Scopely might throw at us, but right now, just the main thing is overcoming those overpowering piercing and defense stats, and using isolytic damage and cascade, and also using something that has a percentage reduction of their piercing is the best way to go. So Moreau is key on a bridge punching up into G6 hostiles, and E-Data or Janeway also absolutely fantastic to use.
Another one of our lab members, Retro Hunter, was also using Janeway Moreau E-Data for a lot of the same reasons, but adding Janeway's shield mitigation key in there. And that is especially true for the Enterprise D, which has a large amount of shields. Moving forward, too, I think that the one thing I wanted to point out is what are some of the changes that you'll see as you move up in event rewards. Now, everyone says, okay, Battle Pass. That's a big thing that changes, mainly because we're going to see a lot of G6 come into the picture. Even at Op 61, you're going to start getting uncommon income where you cannot get that out of the regular refinery. And you'll start getting Sigma materials. But here's another big thing that I'm guessing no G5 player has thought about since their 30s, maybe, is the mini daily SMSs. Now, these have not changed in a dramatic way in a very, very long time. But my friend, at Op 61, oh boy, they trickle because there's a lot of them. There's 66 mini daily SMS I'm excluding SLBs because those are still unchanged going into G6, and they become useless because they don't give you any G6 materials. But Op61, the mini daily SMSs pay out a lot. I've calculated all of them. I may have missed a few. I'm excluding station because those are really hard to do on a consistent basis. There's only so many modules you can do without spending materials. So these are just the officer XP, the ship XP, the recruits, and research, which should be relatively easy to do without spending any materials on those SMSs. And they pay really well. Every 11 days, you get over 1 million Latinum. We'll talk about why Latinum matters so much. Every 11 days, you get 43,000 Sigma par steel. That's a huge amount. 5 trillion par steel, 1 trillion tritanium. We're talking about how these G5 epics are really expensive. Well, these mini dailies are going to accelerate your progression in those G5 epics. So if you think it's painful at Op 60, go to 61. You'll see it gets easier. There's some other changes that will also happen and some reasons to hoard. Just to take a quick break, did you want to take breaks throughout this, DJs?
It probably would be ideal in the next, 5 to 10 minutes for us to grab one, but you find yourself a good spot and I'll throw to break when you're ready.
Okay. Well, we'll just continue going. Next one is just how to prepare for your jump. Now, this is you're still a G5 player. You're thinking about your jump, and I've got you a quick save and hoard list. I'll kind of go through these a little bit as well. But the thing is, there's a few things you're going to want to save and hoard. Now, these are things that are going to give you the materials and the resources probably to help your progression through G5 to get to Op 61. But I'm going to tell you, you do want to save them because these options here change dramatically the minute you finish your 61 building. That is your 730-day chest. That's your tickets.
Huge.
So for ticketed events.
Huge
For ticketed events. Your de-sealing rods. When you start opening your treasuries at Op 61, you're going to get a whole bunch more materials, including rare G6 materials, I believe, starting at Op 61. So you're going to want to save those if you can. Multi-phasics credits if you're a spender or have spent in the past.
Right there. That's impressively large. Sorry, I forgot to turn those off.
And then your war chest keys. There's been some discussion that you can actually advance your war chest without having to claim the war chest keys. So this is a good opportunity if you have purchased that Prime to actually just bank your keys until you hit Op 61 if you can, because you'll get a huge jump. These are all things that, I know the treasury is kind of limited because it's when it actually runs, but these are all things that you can bank, and there's waves of spending them all kind of at the same time to kind of give you a really big jump start in your your G6 progression. Some other things to think about to kind of prepare yourself: building resources and construction time efficiencies. Not all building resources affect Sigma, but a lot of them do. So try to complete all the building resource efficiencies you can find. And it sounds silly to kind of focus on construction time, but you're going to learn that once you get into G6, time in G6 costs a lot of Latinum. So a free-to-play player, that's not a problem. You're going to wait it out anyways. You're not going to spend a lot of Latinum on these. You're going to wait it out. But if you are a spender and you have start banking up these Latinum, if you're doing all this SMS mini dailies, you're actually going to start getting Latinum. It's still going to be a huge cost savings if you can start to reduce those construction times. And then this is a question for the group here. If you are a light spender, what do you think are some 1 or 2 highly valuable purchases that someone can do either right when they get into Op 61 or to kind of prep themselves for Op 61?
I like efficiencies, so I'm looking at something like research or a building efficiency, something there. Of course, anything efficiency based for me is something that I'm going to look at if I'm looking. You guys remember Grabthar's Hammer Pack? That's what actually pushed me into G6, was when that pack came out. So that was really, really big for me, was the Grabthar's Hammer Pack. Like that first weekend it came out, it pushed me into G6 just because it was like a 200% and it came with that XO with the speed and all that stuff. They still offer those. So if you are close and you happen to see, a weekend special, the Grabthar's Hammer Pack, that is still a pack that they run, and it's still a daggone good value. So I kind of like that if you're looking for a one-time injection to kind of get over that hump. For example, I saw in the chat that you don't necessarily want to stay at 61, and I kind of agree. To be honest with you, if I was kind of looking at entering G6 over again, I would probably try to rush 62 and grab that Selkie, and that's probably where I would hold for a minute. 63, I mean, I'm still not there, but I definitely think that I would try to push quickly for 62 because you're going to need the Selkie for dailies, for mining events. The Selkie makes life very, very easy in the early 60s. So I'm going to be looking at something that's going to jumpstart me, Jules, and give me really that big shot in the arm towards getting straight to Shipyard 62.
Well, Shipyard 61 is the Selkie, so you don't have to
61.
jump that far.
Yeah.
I like those ideas. Matters. Do you have a couple of purchases that you think are highly valuable?
I mean, there's the standard that you've got in the. Do you have it listed on that slide?
I don't.
Okay, well then I'll leave that for you to talk about. Lorca, if you don't.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have him, if you don't have a Vindicator, if you're slow burning your way to getting the Vindicator and then slow burning your way to getting Lorca, but you're ready to, like, if you get him, level him up, the efficiencies that he's got and the skills that he's got to help in fights against hostiles, against like non-armada hostiles, he huge help.
Yeah, I love Lorca there too. One other one I see in the chat that I like, which probably would fly under the radar a little bit, but Jules has done some research on this in the past, would be especially at the early 60s. And if your Monavine happens to be pretty close to maxed out, that Monavine skin gives tremendous amounts of Sigma resources over time. I think I saw in the chat that it's actually the cash equivalent of roughly $10 a day in Sigma resource. So it takes no time at all for you to kind of make that back. So I kind of like that one too. And Jonathan Ingram likes that one. He bought that for me very early in my G6 career, and it's resulted in a tremendous stack of resources for me. So yeah, I kind of want to point that one out too.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. That is actually definitely the one that I had purchased, and I would not have purchased it otherwise, but because of how valuable it was and knowing that I was going to go into G6, I was like, yeah, I'm getting that. The only other one that I would say is actually just a quality of life improvement. There's two that are kind of quality of life improvements. For me, it was Disco Warp Primes.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing because it's just a quality of life. Do I need to get the Disco Warp Primes to do what we need to do? You saw the warp chart. No. Get a G5 Epic, get it to tier 5. You can start at least. But for me, to do all the things I wanted to do, to be able to do it quickly, was what was valuable to me.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that was also brought up was the Hazard Prime. We'll kind of get to Hazards a little bit later. I did not see value in that, but some people could say, yes, I don't want to deal with that. I want to start mining G6 Hazards earlier. We'll get to that a little bit later in this presentation. So I think this now is roughly a good time to talk or to take a little ad break. If anyone else has any other ideas for highly valuable purchases, I saw like the monthly elite chest. It was also a good idea. I saw getting the Grabthar's hammer either before or after G6 starts to kind of get that big punch up in value. If there's any others, please throw them in the chat.
And we will check on those as soon as we return from this commercial break in the introductory, the ultimate entry guide to G6, as presented by JulesVern here on Talking Trek Live, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast. We'll return after a word from these sponsors. This portion of the show brought to you by CrazyBunch.org. Are you old?
Happy Halloween. Your dreams to the brim with fright. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. 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 Appreciate you all. Welcome back to Talking Trek Live, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast, and welcome you in. The treats are to your left, the beheadings are to your right. All right.
That's about all I've got there. Yeah, beheadings on Wednesday. There you go. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you guys all being back. Welcome in to the show. This is the ultimate entry guide into G6 as presented by JulesVern. Do want to thank everybody for sticking through. Thank you guys for hanging out through the commercial break. This we do it once an hour. It is 3 minutes long, and it allows us to go an entire hour commercial-free. Couple of reminders I would like to throw out on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see a QR code that you can scan and donate to the Christmas Angel Fund this year. We're already $7,083 towards our $60,000 goal.
You're the best. Give me hugs and kisses.
Thank you for the hugs and kisses. I'm curious as to why that sounds choppy tonight. You know, it's like every single show, I think I have a bad audio cable. I'm going to have to figure out which one it is, maybe reinstall one. I've got like one audio cable that just continues to give me grief. So, yeah, sorry about that. But,
Yay, bugs.
Yay, bugs. Thank you guys very much. That is the QR code.
I told you it wasn't me.
To give to the Christmas Angel Fund. We are one floor in, and if you take a look up here, right up here, you'll see that we are already 18% through the second floor to provide toys for the Children's Hospital, Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt Medical, Nashville, Tennessee. We have right at about 5.5 weeks left on that. So we got a lot of work to do, folks. But National Day of Giving and National Week of Giving is coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So be sure to check with your employers on that if you're interested in making a donation, and it's very possible that they may end up doing a cash match. Thank you very much, Everywhere It Matters, for dropping a gifted sub to Buns of Steel in the chat. Appreciate that. Also, just a quick reminder that ! Tip, ! Donate will also go 100% towards the Christmas Angel Fund for the next 5 or 6 weeks. Also, like to remind you guys that coming up on Tuesday, November the 4th, and actually I guess it's technically Monday, November the 4th, starting at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, you will have the 1-year anniversary special of the Warp Drive 5, this time hosted by Dr. Iron Chef himself, whom I'm pretending to be today, and joined by Major Sammo, Captain Jesse Scribbler, and Tiberius. It is the 1-year anniversary of the Warp Drive 5. That is happening there. Also, for those of you who do reside inside the United States, as Tarpey points out, please exercise your citizenship and your pride and go vote. Doesn't matter what you do vote for, just matters that you make your voice heard. Every vote counts, and that is coming up this Tuesday. So we're going to encourage everybody to get out the vote, go do your part, do your civic duty, and make your voice heard. I think that every vote always counts, no matter what, no matter where you are, no matter what precinct you're in. Every vote will needs to be counted, and every vote will matter when all the dust settles. So be sure to go and do that if you reside inside the United States. Thank you, guys. That's right. Vote for me. I promise more uncommon materials. And I'm going to tell you, how to get them. Right, Jules? Welcome back. The ultimate entry guide to G6 as presented by JulesVern. One of the things that we were talking about right before the break was indeed how you were preparing for your jump and some of the stuff that you wanted to hoard. I lost my mind, Jules, when you told me about the 7 and 30-day chest. This is not anything that I ever knew about. I don't know how I didn't know about it, but you absolutely blew my mind when I went into G6, and you were like, oh, dude. And you know what upset me so much about that is that I had just blown all those. Please do not make the mistake that I made. All right? The 7 and 30-day loyalty tokens, go into G6 with a very, very nice bank of those. And Jules, why might I say that?
Well, if you advance to the next slide, I can show you. We actually have a massive bump in G5 materials. Why? You're a G6 now. What do you need a massive bump in G5 materials? I'm not entirely sure. I think it's because they removed all of G4 and all of G3, which are old content, and they've bolstered the G5. But there's a 10x increase in the rare that you're getting in the 7-day chest, and nearly a 20x increase in the rare in the 30-day chest. Now, that 30-day chest is actually does not have a cooldown at all. So if you can bank those ones up, man, you're going to get a huge amount of rare saved up. So, and by the way, the 7-day chest, it technically is 4 chests is the limit, but you can actually cheat it a little bit by doing a 2 chest claim, 1 chest claim, and a 2 chest claim to get a total of 5. And then you can actually get a little bit more for each time. So save these up. It's going to take you a while to save these up, but save them up because it's a huge jump in your G5 rare materials. We all talked about how in late G5, the rare materials were a big pinch point. The resources are a real big pinch point. But I'm here to tell you, the battle pass, that's got you. Even the free track of the battle pass, that's a 50% increase in the base resources that you're going to gain. Here, these loyalty chests, you're going to get a massive amount of the rare materials. Plus, you're starting to get a huge amount of Latinum in these as well. So you get a big jump in your Latinum. So if you spend a lot of Latinum speeding things up to get to G6, well, you're about to get a huge bump up in that as well.
Andy asked the question. Andy asked the question, yep. Jules, and I think it's a very good question. Because of the cooldown on the 7-day chest, what should you be doing with the 7 days? Should you be cashing in the 7 days now and stocking up on the 30 days? Or would you advise banking the 7 days as well and just using the 2-1-2 method once you get to level 61?
The 2-1-2 every day, because here's the thing. Just doing that gives you 250 rare of every material. So you're wasting $750 rare materials by by trying to bank it up early. So save it. Don't worry. It's only a 7-day cooldown, so it'll take you a little bit to get through your bank. But in all honesty, between when you start being a G6 player to when you've actually cleared out all of your loyalty chests, it's not going to be more than a month or so. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
That is true. I mean, you think about it, you could spend 35 of those a week. You say you have 98, Andy, you're going to be through those in less than a month. You could spend 35 a week, so you're going to be at 105 in just 3 weeks. So totally, absolutely save that. You'll have your full complement of G5 rare in less than 30 days. You say you're
technically
still
like 15 days. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're still 60 locked. Well, then just keep banking them up, because as soon as you can press 61, you're going to have such a huge surplus. I wouldn't say surplus, but you're going to have such a huge income of G5 materials, especially the rare ones. That is going to do a huge, huge help for you in getting that G5 epic tiered up a little bit and giving you that extra warp range and that extra firepower to take on some of those early G6 hostiles.
Indeed. I don't really have the charts for tickets or the treasury. Don't really keep those charts, nor do I do it for multiphasics. But we can kind of look through what you're going to expect when you get to 61, which is going to be opening up the G6 mats parts refinery. You unfortunately will be stuck with common parts right away, and you probably won't have a lot of G6 raw parts or broken chip parts just yet to start kind of building that refinery up. When you start hitting your silence, though, you'll get a good amount of broken G6 ship parts. So you can kind of look at that. One thing that you'll notice, though, is G5 refineries, G4 refineries, they've all been boosted by just regular inflation, natural inflation to base, plus the Bajoran favors, plus if you've acquired any of the primes for those refineries, you are going to get a lot more in payout. So when you start coming here, that hasn't had any adjustments to it at all. It's going to be a little bit of a shock to you how little you're actually going to be getting out of these. Like you're going to get less than 100 uncommons when you're used to getting thousands per pull. It's going to feel like a little bit of a shock to your system. But the thing is, the monthly bonus refinery that's currently running right now, it offers you the maximum bracket option, and it's actually going to be really potent because it isn't going to have the same loss of inflation that's already occurred. So the G5 bonus ones, I don't know about you guys, but I skip those. I don't really care. That's not giving me anything I really care about.
Same, yeah.
But the G6 bonus refineries, oh my gosh, I am maxing those, triple pulling those as much as I can because I'm getting rares out the wazoo by hitting those refinery bundles.
I can only afford to do the doubles, but you're right. I am absolutely paying attention to the G6 bonus refinery. And again, I'm going to point out that this is early. I know that a lot of people later in G6 will agree with how a lot of us look at G5 now, that the bonus refinery is not really worth it. But right up front, again, you're eliminating those commons. You're guaranteeing yourself uncommon and rare. And that is actually really, really nice here up front at the front part of G6. So, yeah, I would definitely take advantage of the early G6 bonus refinery. Absolutely.
Exactly. Moving forward, we can kind of chat a little bit about Sigma refineries. This is new. You won't see this until you turn up 61, but you can convert raw. Yes, you will get raw Sigma resources, which you can convert into refined Sigma resources. You can also trade up your materials, so your base materials of Par Steel into Sigma Par Steel, for instance, and you also trade down. Now, early on, this was actually a strategy that Lube entailed in. He was trading up his Par Steel into Sigma Par Steel, and he was trading down his Sigma Tritanium into regular Tritanium so that he could advance his G5 ships faster. I would not recommend that. I think that with the other bonuses that you'll get in natural base resource increases through all the other sources that we kind of talked about, that it's not worth ever trading down. I don't know. How do you guys feel?
I'll be honest with you, man. This is a section of the game that I have largely avoided, mainly because of the kind of the bad reputation that it got from G6 early adopters. The refinery, for example, refining your Par Steel into Sigma Par Steel, I haven't found myself short on Sigma Steel yet. But I'm also not pushing, admittedly. The other night you guys heard Griffin fuss because he needed 4 packs to get 2 million Sigma Steel. But I guess maybe where I do buy a few packs, or maybe I'm buying specific packs, I don't know, or maybe this is just accumulated over several events, but I am currently sitting on like almost 5 million Sigma, and I don't refine and I don't buy specific packs. So I haven't felt that I have needed that trade up yet. On the other hand, I was joking earlier that I'm holding 136 trillion regular steel, so it's probably about time for me to move that up. However, when is the right time? When's the right time?
5 million.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. I guess treasuries or whatever packs that I've bought, but I haven't made that kind of crazy push. Yeah, I got 4.9 million Sigma. I don't know where it came from. I got 1.3 Sigma Trite. Don't know where that came from. I just from shielding, says
from
Andy.
Shielding.
He says from shielding. Congratulations, DJ. You're finally learning how to play the game.
Figured it out.
5 years in, you're learning how to play the game. So this is an interesting question, though, because there is going to come a point. We talk in this game all the time about useless currencies. When is it time to start getting rid of my regular Par Steel? Well, for me, I'm actually very, very close. I'm not there yet because I still have buildings that will take steel, right? But I'm still earning steel at the same time. But, for example, War Room, District 56, Holodeck, your mess hall, not mess hall, armory, this one over here, the facade, all right? All of these are still taking steel, all right? They're still taking steel. But I'm shielded, IJ. These still take steel. So I haven't started converting yet. But I'll tell you, Jules, I think it's probably time for me to do that. I'm not going to use 137 trillion, but I'm also continuing to earn it every day. So it's probably about time for
I'm
me
in
to
the
do
opposite
that.
camp. I'm opposite from you. I'm trying to progress through G6 as fast as possible, doing as little other things as possible. Meaning, I'm not really doing a lot of research that requires anything uncommon or higher. I'm not building a G6 uncommon. I am just working on ops. So I am aggressively hunting Sigma par steal at all costs. I am trading down as much as possible.
You're jumping that, yeah. So you're plugging that in. That par steal refinery, you're feeding it in. 24 trillion for 58,000 Sigma.
I hit that 10 chest every time I got more than 24, which is fairly often. I do get 24 trillion pretty easily. I also don't buy packs that are primarily for resources or materials. The only packs I buy are other types of progression-based things, like the new ship or the new building,
right?
Or some things like that. And my budget's actually gone way down since I moved too, so I'm very rarely spending at all.
Yeah, same.
Lorca was probably the most I've spent on because of his efficiencies and other things that he's provided. So for me, I'm hunting Sigma resources like a hawk, and this is something that I'm heavily utilizing.
And obviously, the Sigma resources do become very, very important. You were talking earlier about the raw stuff. So let me ask you, Jules, because again, this is not something I'm spending a great deal of time doing.
Don't. Just don't.
Yeah. Not that one.
Don't do it.
I haven't, but I didn't know if I was missing out or anything like that. So you're not recommending mining raw resources?
No. It is mindless, mind-numbing work. Unless you're an avid miner, don't do it. It just doesn't pay nearly enough. Same with the generators. Like, ignore the generators. They're never going to give you enough. Even if you can get them working for you, they're never going to give you a lot. So this is the thing is, there is mission rewards in G6 that will give you the raw materials, allowing you to pull this every so often. I'll take that and I'll refine it, but I am not mining.
To answer a question out of chat, Skeletor says, so I skipped the G4 epics. However, it looks like I probably won't be able to skip the G5 epics. And I think that is actually accurate. We have found that the G5 epic does kind of become the staple. You know what the equivalent would be, Skeletor? The G4 rare and how you relied on it, how heavily you relied on it, that is the G5 epic. You're going to heavily rely on that. As a matter of fact, it sounds like Jules is going to ride the G5 epic all the way to 66.
Indeed. Moving forward, we also wanted to show what the lat problem was. And this is a lat conversion difference between Sigma speedups and regular speedups. 1 day of regular speedups is 300 lat. 1 day of Sigma speedups is 1.5 million lat.
Blech.
So, So time is a big issue. And a lot of your management of how you even do a recruit solo leaderboard, how are you actually going to choose the things that you're going to do? Well, I always try to line up my longest timed building upgrade as the last thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'll do a bunch of other building upgrades and I'll say, oh, that's going to take me 7 days. Perfect. That will get me lined up to the next weekend's, SMS and solo leaderboard. So I'm going to let that 7 days ride that entire week. This is also going to be a problem when you start getting into research. So other ways is saving Latinum, using exocomps for building speed and research speed. Those become huge. You will get a lot more research speed exocomps as well. But just know that the Latinum conversion is a huge problem. And progressing quickly through levels is not really something you'll do. Also, looking for helps, like waiting for helps. Again, you can't just smash, go, speed up. You're going to want to wait for helps because each help now, and where I'm looking at for my buildings, saves me 500,000 Latinum.
Yeah.
Every single time someone gives me a help. So this is something that I always look for.
Oh, for sure. Maintaining all the helps, the exocomps. And here's the thing. People are going to come back, just like when the exocomps first came out, they're going to come down and say, well, it's only going to save you 8 hours or only going to save you 12 hours. Like, it feels like less, but that's hundreds of thousands of latinum. And so when you're looking at those speed ups, and those speed ups, by the way, they don't come super frequently. You can earn a few of them every single day, but they are also very tightly controlled. It's not like the speed ups you got before. So, yeah, riding your helps out to the maximum, using the exocomps, even if it only saves you 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours. I mean, that's worth several 100,000 latinum. Remember, 1 day of Sigma speed up is 1.5 million latinum. So 6 hours, that's a 250,000 lat right there. 4 hours. 4 hours is a 250,000 lat. So just keep that kind of in mind, all right, when you're looking at the value of exos and speed ups and so forth. You are going to want to start to save some of those exo speed ups for buildings and research, when you hit that 61 mark.
Yeah. I still think that one of the larger bottlenecks for G6, especially if you're a low spend player, is going to be Sigma resources. Clearly not for you, DJs, but I think for me it was. And it's something that's going to have different sources than your typical materials. Those typically are going to be wherever you had materials before, you're going to have G6 materials now, depending on your grade. But some consistent-ish sources of Sigma resources. Next slide, please.
Yeah, guys, sorry.
Just waiting.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, your generators.
Nice delay. Oh,
yeah,
God,
yeah,
no, we're not using the generators.
Yeah, just click it. Just click the screen.
Oh.
Just kidding. They're still useless.
Yeah, listen, look, you can get 13 an hour. 13 Sigma
13.
par steel an hour.
Woot.
Good job, Scopes, on
Woot.
continuing to make the resource generators absolutely valuable. I'm so excited.
If you run out, if you go below, and that's the thing too. Like Magu was saying a while ago in the chat that like you're always going to have more. Like, unless you just upgraded a building, you can maybe claim all of your generators once before your regular income is going to take it over its capacity.
That's absolutely wild. Yep, just kidding. They're still useless. Love it. Sigma resources and where they actually come from, Jules. What do we got?
Yeah, and these have all been added after G6 launched. So yes, the early G6 players, the early adopters, did not have these resources. These were problems for them, but now we can kind of see that we're getting more. I've got the Mirror Universe. This is for getting the liquid Trellium D. You can now that G6 is probably not going to have as big of a problem. We know the refinery bumps up a bunch, and you actually get a ton more liquid Trellium, plus with all of the other quality of life improvements to the Mirror Universe loop. We're getting a lot more liquid Trellium, and you're more easily able to single, double, triple pull this chest. This gives you one roll of each, either the raw resources themselves or tokens, and it's great having tokens. Because you may actually get raided one day, TJs, and get down to the point where your shit gets taken.
Don't be ridiculous. I'll never be raided.
We talked about War Chest. War Chest does improve with the actual level of the building. This is not the level of you, but the minute you hit Op 61, you're immediately going to get some Sigma resources and G6 materials, even all the way through rare. So as an Op 61, this is a great place to start getting that rare materials and ship parts if you can bank those up. So 1 point there. And then we have our new Terran faction store. I think it's going to be a little while before we have enough common and uncommon Terra credits to kind of spend on these extra bonus claims, but this is one extra source for some Sigma resources. Moving on, we have a couple of refits. The Monavine Mark II skin, and I think that we can see why this one is so valuable. First of all, the materials that you're actually getting in those are much higher than any of the other sources we've seen so far. Plus, if you are focused on, say, getting Sigma Parsteel when you're in early 60s, or if you're in the mid 60s, you're focused on getting Sigma Tritanium, then you can actually select whether you want to get a double chest or even a triple chest, depending on how you want to select that. So I'm getting 25,000 every single day because I'm double pulling my Sigma par still, and that's a huge income for me consistently.
I am rethinking my strategy here. So you are going just full tilt, no research, no catching up with efficiencies. You're going full tilt to 66.
I have not needed any of the G6 researches for anything I'm doing on a regular basis. I'm completing the ones that take common, and I'm completing other ones that I have unlocked at G6 but don't require G6 materials, including hazard researches. Those give me good benefits, and I'm just going to wait it out until I get to Op 66. I can build an Op 66 chip, get my cube up, and then reevaluate whether or not I believe those researches have value. This is how I've always operated, not spending the resources that I absolutely need to progress in my ops, but only spending them on my end goals. We can talk more about this later. We have a whole discussion to have on this later in this presentation, but the Monavine Mark II skin is a great use source. We also have our NX01 refit. This is the Picard refit that you get for free through the refinery. So small drip to unlock it. But at Op 61 and above tier 7, you also get a benefit of Sigma resources. So next up is preparing for dailies. So this is going to be a big change for a lot of players because the dailies fundamentally change. We'll talk about hazards. I think the big thing is talking about mining. Mining is a big part of the dailies and what we actually need to mine. And then a little bit about the faction dailies and their strategies, because the actual requirements that you have will change at Op 61 and once you get above 17 billion reputation in any faction. So exactly how you actually have to do that changes a little bit. And then we can talk about silent hostiles, which will rehash some of our old conversation about silence. Yes. So there's other resources for Sigma that I have not listed here. These were just ones that I knew about and that saw value to me. But G6 mining, I wanted to show this is a level 58 or Ops 58 ship. G5 miner, rare miner is the Moga. I'm just using that as an example. Any of the G5 rare miners have the same statistics. Just look at the mining laser. Almost 10,000 bonus for the Moga and a tier 2 Selkie. Basically, right out of the shipyard, no uncommon spent, 41,000. It is a huge change. And remember the actual calculator for determining mining rate. The mining laser is one of the very first thing. So we always look at the mining laser and say, if that is a really high number, you're going to have an incredibly fast rate. And that is true. The Selkie is fast at mining almost everything. It is really fast at mining isogen. It's really fast at mining a lot of things. And these six-star raw material nodes have such a low base rate that you need to have something that has a really high mining laser if you actually want to get any amount of value. I've included a small graphic of my tier 7 Moga getting 17,000 an hour and my tier 4 Selkie getting 140,000 an hour.
By the way, it's pronounced Meowga. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Meowga. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cat got distracted there.
The big cat.
Oh boy.
Honest to God, I've called it the Meowga forever, and I did not even realize till just now that was actually incorrect.
That there's no E in there.
Or as Tarpy would say, it's the Lawn Moga.
The Lawn Moga. There you go. How far do you tier your very first Selkie?
Tier 2. I mean, what do you need it for?
Really? You stop at tier 2?
That's what I did, because tier 2 is where it stops requiring just commons and it starts requiring uncommons. And tier 2 is also when you can equip. You have to get your ship to tier 2 to equip any forbidden tech. So you can't just leave it at tier 1. Yes, tier 1 is free. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm using the Ferengi Whip on one to give me more protected cargo, more cargo capacity. You could also use any of the mining ones to give you more cargo capacity, because as we'll see, the cargo is just abysmal, just absolutely abysmal.
Oh
Your
yeah.
protected cargo is absolutely
But
abysmal.
the base bonus to cargo capacity is a massive, massive increase though because of that.
Right. So, I mean, the very first mining dailies start at 60,000, I believe, for an Op 61. And so, can you use a G5 rare miner? Well, if you can reach and you don't mind sitting it on that node for as long as you want, yeah, you could probably get your dailies done, but you're going to have a miner on a node for more than half the day. And if you're trying to get two factions up, then you have to switch to do two different map types. Now you're like really struggling to kind of keep up. It's certainly possible, but it is not a good quality of life. So this is where we recommend getting a Selkie as well, I think most people recommend getting a Selkie as quick as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like a tier 2 Selkie is so slow. I mean, it's still mining for like multiple hours. I've actually taken I've been working on mine. Should I not be? I've been working on mine. I think mine's tier 3 now because it's very expensive. But
well, you have a different play style than the rest of us do right now. You're trying to get to the point where your day-to-day life is easy, and that's great. You should do that. That's what's gonna make you happy. For me, it's like I don't want to spend uncommon on anything that isn't ops progression. So I do have a tier 4 Selkie. I did spend a little bit on it. I did want to get it up, and I actually, to be honest with you, I did that a lot to get the Mirror D, the Trillium D, because the Selkie was the main miner for Trillium D, or before the Protector can get there. But that is where I stopped. So tier 4 Selkie is my highest, and I don't really want to take it up until I get to a point where I'm not really needing that uncommon anymore. But that's just me personally. Do you have any other opinions, Matters?
No, I hate mining. I'm with DJs there. I think I might have popped mine up to tier 3. But for me, I'm not too worried about the uncommon cost. Oh, mine is tier 4. Look at that. Uncommon's not a bottleneck for me. Like, materials aren't a big bottleneck for me. Like, for me, it's the Latinum. It's the speed ups. It's one spend event, one weekend, I blew through 240 Latinum, and I had to stop because I was like, oh jeez, I'm down to 40 million. Like,
spent 240 million lat in one weekend. I remember like gasping at the fact that I've spent 50 or 60 million lat before.
right?
in an auction,
And
and
now
now you're spending $250,000. Yeah. Caledon says,
you're rushing
Jules,
ops.
do you recommend the 58 miners or tier up a Nova or two?
So I had a Nova at tier 2, and then I had a max Fortivore, and I benched the Nova and only used my max Fortivore until I build my Moga, and then I took my Moga to tier 2, and I kept it there until I needed somewhere to dump mats into. So I don't know if I'm the right one to recommend a 58 miner versus tiering up a Nova, but that 58 miner at tier 1, tier 2 was like vastly better than my G4 miner. So yeah, mining is not my favorite. Pixelate has it right. They're great for a mat spend event when you're G6 and you don't have a lot of places to spend your G5 materials. They're great right out of the box as a high cargo, high protected cargo ship that has a decent mining laser for G5 mats. But we also, I think it's going to be server dependent. I'm on a server that has lucrative space being protected, which means to mine materials means to send it to one of those lucrative systems and just fill the cargo. So cargo capacity becomes the biggest thing for me on most of my ships.
Must be nice.
Tech also has it correct. You cannot mine Sigma, Par, or Trite, or Dill with a G5 miner. You must have a G6, but as we've covered, it's probably not worth it.
No.
It would take 6 hours to pull one chest to get 30 raw or 30 refined Sigma Par steel. and that 30 is like, what am I? Is that spit in the bucket? Like that's nothing. I'm getting rained on by my motivating.
Well, we're spitting on
Crewing.
things.
Crewing and bonuses that are highly valuable. This is what a lot of players say. I don't have a chart for this yet, but if you actually want to pull this,
My name is Beck, and I like plants.
Hi,
And I'm a
Moopsie.
valley girl.
What's up,
and listen to me do all the things on a Rev Show.
Hey, Moopsie! What's going on? IJ says, Jules, as a free-to-play, what are these whales talking about? I need more info on G3 and G4 miners. Also, is the D4 the best PvP ship?
IJ, that'd be Rev's channel.
Yeah.
You're looking
There you
for
go.
Rev's channel.
There you
The,
go.
the only information you need about G3 is to get out of it.
You do need to go to Ups 40. As a matter of fact,
him.
I shouldn't say this, but at some point before, like over the next several months, they're shifting the content again, so it's going to shift to 42 as an entry point. Just saying.
Well, it practically already has. I mean, even
I'm
the
just
stuff they come out with
saying.
now it's hard for low G4 players.
Yeah,
It's challenging. Like, remember Mirror Universe?
yeah.
When it came out, low G4 players were struggling real hard. Same with Silence.
Yeah, well, it's going to continue. There's content coming out that will be 42 plus in the near future. So
anyone that stays in
Yeeks.
G3 is forever playing 2021 SDFC.
well, it is a different game.
Basically.
It is a different game. I saw
Like-
somebody in the chat earlier said that they've only been playing for a year and they're already in G5. I mean, the economy has
59.
changed.
He's excited about this because he's getting ready to push 60.
And he's
To
played for a
push-
year. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm
Probably
sure he spent some money, but I mean, still, the fact that you can make that kind of journey in a year, I mean, that probably feels pretty exciting. You know, that
I
kind of
went G5
progression
in the
feels
year,
pretty exciting.
G6 and 2. I mean,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's you don't have to spend you don't have to be a whale. I'm not in the VIP server.
I'm not either.
Like-
but I think that's because
Yeah.
they banned me. Anyway,
Yeah, that's for different reasons.
very, very different reasons. All right, Jules, what do you got? What do you got next here?
Well, I just wanted to say that there's been some talk about using the bonus material mining. So if you can go in your game, look at the X
Yeah.
board favors lucky mining.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Using pick hue as well on the bridge. This is really helpful, not to necessarily cut down your mining time, because that doesn't actually change, but it's helpful to get to those mining goals faster. So, lucky gas miner, lucky crystal miner, lucky ore miner. This is going to help you, especially if you have a long mining time. You can get it to a point where you actually only have to do about half the amount of mining you need and still be able to achieve your dailies. So some of the big question marks are like, do you even need to have speed miners on your Selkie anymore? Or can you start focusing more on protected cargo or some other things, including pick hue on the bridge? Interesting things to bring up. I don't have a lot on that because I also don't like mining, but if this is going to make your life easier to mine, then those are some other recommendations. So moving forward, I want to talk about faction dailies and why they matter and what changes. So first off, if you are under G6, or if you're at 15 billion and you're under G6, or you're a G5 player and you go up to 17 billion, one of the biggest things that you'll notice is actually your daily spend events. That's in your daily event tabs. Those will increase how much reputation you get by a massive amount. So you'll already see that you're going to get a lot more. Then once you hit Op 61, you'll see that all of your other dailies will also shift and change to give you a great amount more, 3 times more per daily that you're actually going to do is going to give you a lot more. And now all of the requirements for completing your daily and all of the rewards shift from being reputation based to being ops based. What that means is at 61, your small daily is killing 10 at 61. Your big daily is killing 50 at 61. However, there's a bonus for punching up.
Like
So,
in tournaments.
sorry. Yes, exactly like that, like the task and tournaments. And I love this mechanic. The punching up is rewarding you, and not having to hit 50 hostiles is also nice. So actually not just getting to the hostile level 61, but getting to hostile level 62 or 63 as an Op 61 is going to really help reduce how much time you're spending to actually complete your dailies. But also that your rewards are based on that. So, yeah, huge change. More than likely, combining all of your positive reputation, if you were at Legend, so 15 billion luck, and Op 60, you're probably looking at less than 100 million in positive reputation a day. The minute you go up to 61 and 17 billion, you're looking at billions a day. So your progression through that greater ops range is just going to greatly increase the minute you hit 61. So next up, silence. So the silence, they change. This has been a thing since they were introduced. Every time you kind of go up in ops, you're going to enter a new bracket in most cases, and that bracket is going to determine what type of part you need. So you can't just sit there and bank them all and continue to hit the same hostiles. The minute you hit 61, it's going to require a different part type, which is the 6-star uncommon parts, which are only available in the I'm going to butcher this name. Aquinalon star system. That system is the only system that you can actually obtain the type of parts you need to continue that refinery. And as we had learned when this was released, there was some struggle points, like Ops 55. That really sucked. There's a lot of Ops 55 that couldn't punch up and kill the correct hostiles they needed to gain those parts. And this may be true for you if you're going into Op 61, whether you have an epic ship or not, whether you can even reach it with the warp range that it has, 950 or not. That's going to be a kind of a big problem for this particular thing. I wanted to point this out. There is also some recommendations for crewing on this. What do you got for us, Matters? If you are either struggling, or what do you think the best crews are for silence nowadays?
Silent crews haven't changed a massive amount since they first launched, other than the officers that kind of launched with them or very shortly after. So the biggest thing is mitigating those critical hits that they get in the beginning, with their 100% crit chance. In one of two ways: if you have a high enough tier Tucker, you could use him to reduce the damage to less than a normal shot. Otherwise, you're going to want to use Phlox. Both of them are fantastic and big helps.
Holbridge dropping with that new research. That too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that adds a little bonus as well. Not a massive, because they do get an increase every round of their critical damage. So the research will reduce it a bit in the beginning, but it'll still grow and get overpowering. So Tucker can do a much better job, but every little bit helps for sure with crit damage reduction. Phlox also does a good job because you can effectively negate their crits entirely with a boosted Phlox, or if you have a max, you don't need to boost them with Pike. But you can eliminate their ability to crit, which makes those first few rounds much more survivable. If you don't happen to kill them within 8 rounds, then they get their crits back, but not at 100%. Then they're only, I think, 10%, but they're doing massive amounts of damage by then. So I've continued to use and have had the best results with Janeway Doctor Phlox. Other people have used Pike and Roll Phlox to boost him more, to completely get rid of their crits. There's a little bit of variance depending on who it is, what other research they have, et cetera, but certainly the majority of really good silent crews are using either of those two officers to mitigate those critical hits, because that's the biggest challenge with them.
Yep. So, yep, something to look forward to. Also, the silent systems have the fastest 6-star mining nodes in the galaxy. That's including comparing them to level 70 systems that you're not going to be able to reach. So this is a great way of early on getting to a high speed, fast mining node. And again, some servers have, system locked places. Things that require token to travel, they have those protected. So this may be a great way of banking up your resources as well. Moving on to hazards. Now, this is the big new G6 content that people have hated or loved, or actually
Loved them. About the silence.
Oh, sure.
Sorry. You had asked me about using a G6 Epic in the silent hostiles. I would advise against it. Their cargo capacity is too low. So do it with
a G6.
Sorry, it's not a G6 Epic. G6 Uncommon.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I wouldn't use one. Their cargo capacity is way too low. You're not going to get enough. It's not worth it. So use your G5 Epic, and later on you can use your cube.
Yeah, especially plus you're actually, when you kill those hostiles, you're getting the ship parts, the broken ship parts as well, which is going to fill up your cargo.
And not getting enough of exactly.
Yep.
And it's 6 kills and my cargo's full and it's all ship parts and I get enough for like maybe one pull. So it's just a single pull. So it's not worth it. I wouldn't run a G3 or G6 uncommon in there.
Yep. Great. So moving on to hazards. Now, this is the big thing that requires lots of discussion. People have feelings about it. But I just want to just kind of help you understand what a hazard is. If you are, under G6, you've never really experienced them outside of the Chimera systems or outside of the new Protector space and Mirror Universe. So understanding what it is, how to actually gather hazard resistance, when mining becomes viable in there, and what it's actually all for, really. So I've got a pretty dense chart here, but really this is going to help you kind of understand what we found out. This is early on into G6 being launched, is that hazards take 1% of hull damage times the level of the hazard every 5 seconds. And if you can advance the slide, you can see this chart, which means that if you have 0% hazard resistance in a level 1, which will appear to say 100% hazard, then you will have 8 minutes and 20 seconds until your ship goes boom. So for instance, a lot of us, we will send our ship out, especially if there's a long warp time, and then we will forget about it for a while. We'll go poop. We'll go make some dinner. We'll go do something else. And we come back and our ships are dead. So the problem with hazards a lot of the time is just forgetting that you sent your ship there in the first place. It has very little to do with how much time you have to get the thing done that you want to get done. But it's a lot about how fast your ship is going to die in those spaces. There is some tools to kind of increase your hazard resistance, which in turn will increase your time in that space. I have a quick guide here, a little bit. I was kind of looking through the researches, how they unlock, and a lot of it is variable. For instance, there is research nodes that are ship specific. There's research nodes that require you to have a ship and are also faction specific. And there's also research nodes that are just hazard specific. These hazards aren't actually tied to faction. So, not all of Romulan space has radiation. In fact, each faction space has a mix of 3 or 4 different types of hazards. So you can't just focus in on one type of hazard, getting the resistance for that, and just saying, great, I'm done, I'm going to stay here. You actually do kind of need to kind of build up your resistance to all of these. And one of the hard parts that I'll just say out loud, and this is why I don't think that the hazard prime is actually valuable to me at all, is that I'm always punching to a point higher than any resistance I could possibly build, including with prime. So for instance, on a daily basis, I grind 66 and 67s. that is base level in a level 3 system. I'm using a G5 Epic that will never get 300% hazard resistance. So there's never going to be a point where I won't get hazard damage. What I do now is I focus on trying to get all of the kills in the duration of time that I'm alive for, which right now is roughly 3 minutes or so in a level 3 system. That's enough for 4, 5, 6, 7 hostiles, depending on crew and how closely they're grouped together. But that is actually all I need to do to finish my daily. I will finish my daily in that time frame by hitting enough high, like to punch up enough to only have to hit 6 or 7 hostiles before my ship goes boom. So for me, the hazard prime isn't worth it. Trying to maximize hazard resistance is great, but isn't really giving me a big thing.
You're the best. Give me hugs and kisses.
You got hugs and kisses, Jules, from 2 guns.
I love it.
And 1 girl.
I love it.
Yeah, there you go. So this is actually interesting. I remember when Bubba was talking about the hazard space. Of course, he was not a fan at all. And he said that the only way he was going to participate in it was to buy the Hazard Prime, which is why he was so fundamentally aggravated with it. Now, I have not yet obtained that Prime. I have not. I've not done Hazard Prime. I thought about it, but I have not actually done it yet because, again, my budget has shrunk a little bit here as we head into the end of the year because in my industry, that's a rough time. So I have cut back on my spending a little bit as well. You're saying that this is not a prime that you feel is important to the G6 experience?
Not for me specifically. It's 75% hazard resistance, but like even if I bought that prime, it's not going to fundamentally change what I'm doing with my faction warships and my dailies that I have to do for that.
It's a jump start in the very, very, very beginning. Basically,
Yes.
it gets your Selkie so that you can mine immediately in hazard space without it
Agreed.
dying, without having to make several trips. That's mostly all it's, and to be able to grind those low level, like level 1 hazard systems relatively easily. I mean, for the first week or so, I mean, I had to make 2 trips to grinding in those systems, but pretty quickly I got my sea legs and was able to knock out what I needed to for my daily in 1 trip.
Yeah, this is an interesting point, Matters, because what you're saying is that you let your Selkie die in the hazard system, but you still got enough to get your hazard dailies done.
Oh yeah. Once in the very, very, very beginning, no. It was multiple. It would have taken multiple trips, and I wasn't going to do it. But I did push my hazard resistance up enough so that I could get enough right before it. I just barely got enough right before it died. Like if I died 30 seconds faster, I wouldn't have completed my daily. But I did get enough of the resistances with getting a tier 2 Selkie and I think one of the other researches, so that it was dying slow enough that I was just able to get the whatever it is, 60,000 or 80,000, whatever it was at that time that I needed for it to it would get that much and then it would die like 10 seconds after.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest point for me. Was when you look at level 1, 85%, this is possible for a Selkie. I think it's tier 2, it could be tier 4, op 62. You get a Selkie, op 62, you can get 85% hazard resistance. Is that giving you full protection? No, but that gives you an hour of mining time. Using some of the other tools that you have available, you can go out to Core Fit, which is the level 1 hazard that has crystal and ore in it. Or sorry, crystal and gas. So I do need to change this graphic because there is gas available. Crystal and gas, you could take this out there and you can get your dailies done. What if you got the lucky gas miner or the lucky crystal miner and you've got, pick Hue on there? Maybe you're not actually mining what you need, but by the time that you get killed by the hazard, what you're actually taking home is going to be a lot higher. So it is possible very early on. Ops 62. So is that hazard? Yep, new research. Exactly. There's other researches that have the prime. I don't. And by the time I'm Ops 62, I can get my hazard mining done. And by Ops 63, I don't even care anymore about hazard resistance.
So here at Ops 62, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this because I thought I would pretty much never mine in hazard space. You're saying now at 62, there's enough research for me to get without the prime. I can get to 85% without the prime.
So go over to the next slide.
Yeah, well, the Selkie gets like 50%, I think, like right when you build it, and then it gets like another 25% once you get it to tier 2.
So the very right side here, adapting skin, that's ship dependent. That is for the Selkie. Tier 1 is 50%. Tier 2 is 75%. And it is dependent on your Selkie's tier that you have. So you do need to actually tier it a little bit in order to get more hazard resistance. But that research right there is basically what got me to a point where I don't really care about, I have full hazard resistance now on the level 1 system.
No kidding.
And you can get there right now, at least to 85%. So you can get to a point where it's not going to be as painful. Granted, if you don't want to deal with G6 ship repairs, sure, don't do it. But right now, you're sitting on so much Sigma Trite. Why don't you do it?
Well, I use my Selkie for everything, even my G5 dailies, because they're done in seconds. And then I do leave it overnight when I'm doing my my mining. Like I think I have to do 90,000 or something, and it takes a while. It takes like an hour or two. So I leave that overnight. So it's dead pretty much every morning. It's always dead because we
especially in your server.
Yeah, my server. It's always dead. So, but do the hazard systems mine faster?
Some of them do. They do have additional or higher mining rate nodes, but none more than the silent system. So it's not going to be a crazy amount more, but it is more than what you're experiencing in regular faction space.
Huh.
Yeah, and it gets that daily done. It gets you a few more hazard particles every day.
Well, yeah, I'd like to get more hazard particles. That would be great. And Magoo points out you can get hazard particles from the Invasion store. I've been focused on NSEA beryllium spheres from that store right now, but I do see the hazard particles in there, and that'll be the next thing I work on. Unless maybe Gwen DeMarco, I don't know. But yeah, I've been prioritizing the beryllium spheres right now, just trying to push the NSEA along. So
you can also get them as a benefit from the G6 solo FKR. And by the way, those hazard particles, you could directly purchase them, but they also come as a bonus when you trade in the Chimera loot into that bundle for DeMarco shards. It's actually one of the options as a G6 player that it just kind of comes with that. So you can still get hazard particles without having to actively spend loot on. So dailies, G6 FKR, Solar Manus, Ceres Invasions are the main sources for hazard particles free to play. And in the end, though, too, it's like what is valuable in here? Well, you've got hazard resistance is one of the bigger valuable things. You also have what is the equivalent of the super highways, the G6 or the G5 super highways that used intelligence. They are
far less super though than the G5 ones were. I gotta say, don't get all excited about these ones.
Yeah, they take a lot of hazard particles, and they ultimately will chop off a couple of minutes off of a 10-minute warp time. So you'll still have long warp times, and a lot of the issue is the warp times getting deeper into G6. These typically won't actually help with that. There is some workarounds when you get to super high levels in some systems, but in general, they're not highly valuable. Or there's damage. And we joke all the time about damage research. So there isn't a ton. So in the end, like, what are you actually banking up all of this, hazard particles? Why are you stressing about hazard dailies? I think Retro Hunter has it right. Best to skip hazard dailies early on if they're going to be a struggle for you, or if they're just not going to fit into your rhythm for the day. It's not something to have to stress about too much because really it's not giving you a lot of external. And we're calling hazards its own loop, right? It's not going to give you this non-loop utility and a great deal.
I don't get them done every day. I mean, there's a lot of hazard research, but not all of it even requires hazard particles. Most of it is other currencies.
See, now I do the hostile one. I have never even attempted the mining one. I do the hostile one every day because I need that for the particles. But the mining one,
I do every other
never
day.
even tried it.
I do both.
Interesting.
Every other day I'll go up into G6 space and I'll bump off I'll send out my selfie and mine while I'm grinding some hostiles in a different hazard system. But I don't even worry about doing it every single day. I've banked up a bunch of hazard particles. It's still the Sigma speedups that it's. I look at G6 research and I'm like, do I really want to wait 2 days?
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't want to spend.
Well, Thed has a question in the chat matters, and I'm going to pose it to you and Jules on the other side of the break as soon as we come back. Thed says, what is Matters the best source for Sigma speedups? I've heard you talk about that a couple times tonight, and it is a pain point. Is there a better way to source those things? We're going to answer that question on the other side of this break. My name is Ultimate DJs, and tonight, JulesVern and Matters have put together the ultimate entry guide to Grade 6 inside STFC, and we've got more and a wrap-up coming up on the other side of the break. My name is Ultimate DJs, and this is Talking Trek Live, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast. We'll be back right after these words.
Today's show brought to you in part by the Musgrove Trial Firm in Georgia. Have you suffered personal injury in Georgia? You need a buddy. Give Buddy at the Musgrove Trial Firm a call, 678-226-1994. Visit them online at musgrovetrialfirm.com.
This portion of the show brought to you by crazybunch.org. Do you suffer from pixel fatigue? Well, we've got a gummy for that. Surtail has the answers for your health and wellness needs, especially when gaming. A gummy for blue light protection and eye health, an energy gummy, or how about a relaxation gummy to help you chill after Wardod kills all your miners. Surtail is an independent distributor of all the aerial products you'll need to improve your gaming experience. Message Surtail on Discord or go to crazybunch.org. Yo, what's up, Commanders? Great news about PvPtarget.com. You've known for a while that it exists and has some great reference tools regarding PvP banding and common crew loadouts, but they've recently launched brand new tools on the site, including a brand new cargo calculator page as well. This isn't your typical max cargo style calculator, but a brand new unique tool that identifies the timer until you go over cargo. The game timer might tell you how long to zero the node, but how long until your miner is at risk? You can find out now by using the brand spanking new cargo calculator at PvPtarget.com.
Benny Hill, 5 bonus points if you can correctly identify the artist and title. Now, it doesn't act like it, or it might sound like it initially, but this is actually a Halloween song. It is. Scalyback says, ooh, I like the jazz. This is a Halloween song. All right, it's just not exactly what you might have thought you would hear in a Halloween song. That's it, Tarpy. That's it, Tarpy. Good for you. This is Vince Guaraldi. And it's the Great Pumpkin Waltz from The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Yeah, that's it. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the show from Vince Guaraldi, The Great Pumpkin Waltz from the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown movie. Yeah. Lord Hollywood says, I like it already. Golly, how old was this film? Charlie Brown and The Great Pumpkin. Abe says we watch it every single year. I'm trying to think, golly, what year could that possibly be from? That's an oldie, man. The 60s, possibly? That's right, certainly. That's Charlie Brown right there. Scalyback says, I don't know what y'all talking about. My pumpkins are blue. You have blue pumpkins? In the Outback, your pumpkins are blue? Huh? 1966. Charlie Brown.
Sounds like they're not finished growing.
Oh my God. Shut up, Corkin. God. There you go. That's right. That's right. All the other Charlie Brown music has that same kind of snare drum backdrop and the piano riffs. Absolutely. That's it. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. All right. Listen, the great and ultimate entry guide to G6 by JulesVern. We're going to hop back into it here and say hello and good evening. Here, I'll turn on the alerts for just a moment because a couple of you guys dropped some in here, I believe, just a moment ago. Yeah? No? Okay. Never mind. There aren't any there. Benny Hill says, I have the CD. There you go. Domain, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you being here. What's up? And welcome. Jules, you have dumped a tremendous amount of knowledge on the community tonight, and I can see some people's brain gears starting to smoke here a little bit. But you are nearing the end. What other important factors exist when considering your move inside G6? Seth says, I played what? Wait, what did you play? I saw one of you played. Which one did you play? I saw that you played one, and it played. I think. Voltron. Thank you. Wait, are the alerts not? Oh, I didn't turn them on. That's why. That's my fault. Why aren't they actually? Why aren't they working?
Didn't you turn them off during Jules's lesson plan?
I don't know. Let me see. Voltron. Here, we'll click that one again. Voltron. Thank you for the 29-month resub. And what did you do? What did you do, Seth? That you want me to check on? Was it a sound alert or what? I don't know what you did. When are we doing the whiskey and cigars porch stream? I thought you were coming down like 2 weeks ago. I told you to come. You stood me up. That was a no-show. All right. Now I gotta. Yeah, that was a no-show. Anywho, let's. I said I was busy. No, I didn't. I invited you down. I mean, I was busy. I'm always busy. Always. I'm always busy. But there's that. All right. Before the break, Jules, the question was asked: where do Sigma speed-ups come from? Well, I imagine if we all had the answer to that question, then we would be in much better shape than we currently are. But where is the best sourcing for Sigma speed-ups?
Storks.
Yeah, I mean that's tough because one of the biggest issues with the Sigma speed-ups is there's never enough. No matter where you get it from. Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, what players like to do is they like to look for the big ones, like the 15-hour or the 8 hours or even the 3 hours, and say, okay, I want to find where those ones are. And there's not really a good source for any of them. So, there's the daily. Finishing your actual dailies, the actual milestones for that will reward you 15-minute and 5-minute increments. Those do bank up over time. Like, let's not pretend that those aren't valuable. I know.
Minutes.
Just don't forget the drip, okay? The drip is important. If you're able to hit at level, I think it starts at like 67 or 66 and up, they do have a chance at dropping the big ones. This is more easily achievable hitting the level 68 Mirror Universe hostiles. You can actually get the 15-hour speed ups dropped. That is pretty rare, though.
68? Good God.
It's Mirror Universe. It's pretty easy. Those hostiles are pretty squishy.
What do I need my protector at to hit those things?
Oh, much higher.
Yeah.
I would probably send in your Daredex in there before I'd send your Protector.
Good night. All right.
Yeah, but so there's a couple of
yeah.
FKR Solar Armadas. The isomatter refinery will also drop small amounts, but consistent amounts. So those are some sources. To be honest with you, a lot of it you're still going to be spending Latinum on or letting it slowly crawl through that timer. So there is a lot more Latinum sources when you hit G6, not just mini dailies, but also events, packs. Everything is going to give you a significant amount of more Latinum, to the point where you'll be earning.
Gosh,
my
name is Beck, and I like plants.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
Seth.
a valley girl, and listen to me do all the things on a Rev Show.
Yep, still my show. And thanks, Iron Chef, for the 100 kitty bitties. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so very much. Looks like you guys are trying to start a hype train. You guys are just that excited about G6, huh? Nice job, Jules. They're all excited. They're ready to go to G6. Let me ask the question: if you're 56 plus and you're listening right now, let me just get ones in chat. If you're actually excited or feel prepared to get to G6, like, are you ready to get there? And I'll ask this question while you guys are putting it into the chat. Jules and Matters, and I feel like I know the answer to this, but do you feel that the G6 experience has actually been better than G4 or G5? I would have laughed at that question a year ago, but I think that they got a few things right here.
I think it's a different, like, I don't feel like G5 was fundamentally different than G4 when I entered it. But I do feel like G6 is fundamentally different. The things I care about are very different. My experience day to day is different. So I don't know if it's easier, but it's different.
I wasn't a G6 back then, so I don't know. But I hope it's different than it was back then. Because if not, I lose all respect for everyone that was G6 9 months ago.
Well, no, I mean it had to be different.
Terrible.
It had to be different because all the research. I mean, you look at G6 FKRs, that didn't exist. Saris Invasion, that didn't exist. So, places like some of this that Bubba used to talk about and complain about, hazard prevention, it was pay only at that time. So, no, I think that it was very, very different. I think that the experience today is significantly different. Significantly different.
What extra hazard stuff had they added? I think it was the same back then. And so all they had back then was that same 75% hazard resistance prime or 100 or whatever.
Right.
It is.
It was a prime, though. And the hazard particles were deadly slow unless you paid for them. They were deadly slow. And like we had said, now you're earning more of those through Galaxy Quest and through G6 solos. The hazard particles are coming much more frequently now. So you're able to actually build up that resistance significantly faster. It used to be very, very slow. So I feel like that particular piece of the economy has moved along very, very, it has accelerated pretty well.
It has. But also with Fleet Commander Kirk and now Slipstream and people are able to and are punching up higher. So even though people have more hazard resistance, they're going, like Jules said, they're going into systems that have stronger hazards than they were before to get stuff done faster. And so even though we have more hazard resistance, we're now going into systems that have 200% more hazard damage than what people could have with the same ship back then. So we're still getting killed in the same speed, kind of. It's but at least we can finish our daily because we're getting bonus points for punching
Well,
up.
and also let's not forget how much power bloat's been introduced into the game in the last year as well.
That too.
All right, you've had a ton of normal research. You've had a ton of favors added. You've had, all this stuff. The new, what do they call it? Galactic Acclaim now. You've got all this stuff that's added a bunch of survivability. Even Apex Barrier has added survivability. So you're able to do stuff a lot longer. Now, Apex Barrier doesn't help Hazard, for example, but it helps you kill the hostiles in the Hazard systems, and you can kill more of those now. So you can get up there with a single run instead of having to do 2 or 3 runs just because of the quantity you had to hit, and now you can punch up. And because Jules was talking about the mechanic of where you can actually get bonus points. Yeah, right here. You get bonus points for punching up. That's a lot easier today than it used to be because of all the power bloat. So I think that there are a lot of things that have made this that have presented themselves as advantages to kind of letting G6 settle in. And it appears that maybe, call me crazy, that Scopely had a better plan on G6 than they did in G4 and 5. Because G5 was painful.
I think so.
G5 was painful. I did not enjoy it. I mean, it was fine, but it was painful. Every time you turned around, it was painful.
It was slow and boring for me. G5.
Yeah, it was rough.
G6 is exciting. Like you actually you're punching up to it's a challenge. Like you're able to reach things that if you don't crew right, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
You can't just go full speed crew against some people can, but I can't.
Yeah,
against the stuff that I'm trying to kill. Like you actually, it's going back to being a little bit of a strategy game.
Hey Seth,
which is nice.
If the chat can raise $500 for the children tonight, I want you to do 50 squats live on the air. Just throwing that out there. Chat issue challenged. Moopsy will do 50 squats live on video if you guys raise $500 tonight. Sorry for volunteering you what? Wait, what? With what weight? I mean, I wasn't gonna.
Thought he was gonna do it with no weight.
The real question was gonna be with what G-string.
I wasn't gonna add a weight plate. You just said that your legs already hurt. I was just gonna make you do 50 more to cry out in pain. So how much weight would be a challenge for you? So what your legs are already hurting, but you want to do squats with weight. Okay. It's fine. Whatever.
You got to build on the scar tissue. That's how you make muscle.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He wouldn't know about that. His arms are so teeny tiny. Listen, we got he's got very small biceps. All right. Let's get ready to wrap this thing up. Jules, what else is it that we need
10 more slides? 12 more slides?
Yeah.
Dude, we're like a third of the way through. Okay, well we can go through some of them quickly.
Yeah.
Stressing me out, man.
Sorry. No, listen, we could go all night. We could go all night long. 10-minute warning on dailies, by the way. Jules, what's next as we're preparing to enter G6?
So we can go a bit quicker through some of those other things. So other tips and tricks. Picking your G6 faction ship path. I think that just people need to be aware. If you can go to the next slide. I hope this works because I've been editing it while you've been presenting this. Oh, nope. Did not add the other slide. So back out, represent it.
Okay.
I'm doing live edits, man. This is important stuff.
Edits. Oh, look at that. It's a brand new slide. Look at it.
Yeah. So G6 uncommon ships. If you are going to go for a G6 uncommon, and this is actually holds true for all of the G6 ships, one of the big things is that the interceptors have been, I don't know if nerf is an appropriate term. I don't know if that's like supercharged nowadays, but it is definitely the interceptors have a disadvantage as compared to the other ships.
Awesome. You can use
It's
that term.
supposed-
Less awesome.
Less awesome. There
Less
you
awesome.
go. It's supposed to be, these are the glass cannons, high damage, low shield, low hull, and the battleships high hull and the explorers high shields. However, the Akira has the lowest DPR by a lot compared to its other competitors. The Minerva has a 4.5 million DPR when maxed. The Negvar has even higher, but you can also sub out any faction battleship with the cube at this point. So now if you're trying to kind of pick what kind of ships you want, if you're assuming that the cube is going to be your battleship through G6 and the interceptors are kind of all nerfed, then it's really looking at maybe what explorer are you going to go with. So even if you may not be a Romulan lover, if you want to have a G6 uncommon, you may want to start building your Romulan ship, your Romulan reputation now in order to get it to achieve that. So this was just kind of a lot of people are Federation all the way. They're going to build that Akira regardless. A lot of people are Interceptors all the way. They're going to build that Interceptor regardless, but just kind of warning you. Next up, the minute that you hit G6, you will also be gaining G6 materials, and you can see all of the different primes that you can start to unlock. The tributes, by the way, are useless in G6. They give you a handful of million of reputation, but as we learned from our G6 dailies, you're getting billions a day, so that's useless. Yeah, there's also some credits that you can gain from this reputation, but to get to tribute level 5, it's actually adding a click to your daily life, and that's probably less value than whatever the bundle has in it. Just warning you. But there's some other good things in here that you probably have forgotten about because you decided you were never going to pay for those packs. So just kind of go through your primes. Here's a prime list for you to look at what you can get with your acquired materials.
I love the fact that he labeled
lastly,
Defiant Force with LOL. All right.
That was Blue Mandalorian. Yeah, like that has any value. Like, lol, what are you talking about? You want to do assaults with a Defiant? Okay, goodbye.
Hey, do have a question then. If we're looking at this, all right, you say the tributes are worthless. 4-star refining doesn't matter. 5-star refining doesn't matter. What in this
I didn't
list?
say they didn't matter. I'm just saying that they weren't like super valuable because you kind of gotten past those.
So what out of this list is actually worth going back and picking up?
Armada vulnerability was a big one for me. I also did the scrapping. The agile scrapping was good for me. I know that cost some rare 6-star ore, but I'm still working on the jellyfish scrapping loop, and I was kind of bottled up on my scrapper. So to me, getting more scrapping speed was actually valuable. I've changed my opinion on that now since I don't scrap anything other than the jelly. And that's just to kind of keep that loop going. But that it still could be valuable to some other players. Suria's cooldown is also valuable, especially if you're trying to get your Suria's Wednesdays done early, or if you're trying to boost multiple ships. So if you're doing your solo armadas and you want to try to boost multiple ships, that has some value as well.
Okay. All right.
The tributes also give you some faction credits too, which
yes, at level 5 they give you 800 faction credits, which is helpful. But I think it depends where people are in their faction credits.
The rep is peanuts compared to what you get.
But is it worth going through 5 levels of a prime just to get 800 faction credits a day?
Even if they're free, which they're not, because they're still going to cost you uncommon. But even if you don't have to pay money for them, I say the click isn't worth it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the faction messages, the actual messages. If you have a reputation above 17 billion, if you trade in those faction messages, you're getting 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 for one click versus 800 for one click. Yes, I understand that it's more, but to me in my life, I want less clicks.
Yeah.
I'm making my own quality of life decisions. I don't click anything in the Stella loop anymore because I don't need to click that, even if it gives me resources that are useful. I'm done with those loops. So even clicking the tribute, I did them all. I don't know why. I just did them all. Even clicking those tributes is not worth it to me on a regular basis.
Spectre points out that, grinding in the mirror universe for 30 minutes, you would end up with more
faction credits than 800 anyway. But it is an alternative source if you just have oodles and oodles and oodles of 6-star materials.
A button.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on, so planning ahead. So this is beyond Op 61, kind of looking at 62 and forward. This is from their Ops Progression Master Sheet. We have some rare cost, some raw cost, I mean. So you can see that 61 and 62 are relatively painless because they almost only require common to get there. So you can get to Op 62 without spending any uncommon or any rare, which means that you could black convert all of your common as long as you had that Sigma resources to do so. So it could be a pretty fast transition for you. There is quite a bit of catching up in your G5 materials, but that, as we were saying, with your material spends, you kind of need to do that anyways. It starts getting when you start to get to 63, 64, but really it's going to start hammering in when you try to get to 65 or beyond, when materials and the Sigma become such a choke point that it's going to really slow down your progression. So that's just something to keep in mind. There we have some additional eviscerator some locks based on your op ranges. Your protector can only go up to 13 until you get to 63, where you can continue it on. And then there's some other refinery changes in here, but this is just a good reference for you. There's also littered through here is the link to the ops progression sheet. There are several players who given particular ops progression advice, like whether you should go to 63 or go to 64. Go through this and kind of take a look at those content creator or other player recommendations. And then this is the thing that I wanted to get to and spend just maybe a little bit of time on, is the debate over skipping G6 uncommons. This will be the next slide, DJs. I've got some data here of the total cost of going from Op 63 to 66. I've got one of the costs to upgrade a ship to tier 9, just to kind of, if you're banking on the cube being your G6 ship, you're probably taking these to at least tier 9. And then we can just kind of chat a little bit about the difficulties of not having a G6 warship during that ops range. So the next slide, this has the base cost. And I think the biggest things to look at here are going to be the rare and uncommon materials that you need to spend for both of these things, and how those are kind of be in the way of each other. For instance, it's almost exactly the same amount of rare gas to go to tier 9 Minerva versus a tier, to get to 63 to 66 with my level efficiencies. It's going to be a lot different for a lot of other players, but I've been using my Dolomite particles to upgrade my ship efficiencies, but that's still, that much rare gas is really hard to get. So I saw that number and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to save all of that gas, all of that ore, and focus on my ops progression and getting even higher. But I understand that not you guys don't have that same view. So Matters, what do you think?
I got it uncommon and I love it. I don't know if I'm going to take it up to tier 9. That's a lot. That's going to be expensive. I never take ships up to tier 9 until I basically don't use them anymore, and I'm just using them as material dumps. But right now it's tier 5, and it's fantastic. It outperforms my G5 Epic. It goes farther. It hits harder. It can kill things better and easier. I'm 64 and I'm hitting 68s to do my dailies, and 69s. Hitting 68 solo armadas. So I'm raking in the solo armada credits pretty easily. I don't have to do too many to be able to be pulling those, max pulling them. I think it's great. But it seems like a lot of people poo-poo all over them and say that they're not worth it and you should just skip them.
Here's the scary
thing. And I
for me.
understand what you're doing. You're skipping it because you're doing a mad dash to 66.
Is there such a thing as a mad dash? Because while you guys are chatting, I pulled up Spock's Club. Now this is my position right now. Jules, I don't know what yours is, but this would be to get me to shipyard 66. All right. Holy bananas. I mean, this is not something that's going to be earned in a month or two. Like, how long did you expect your journey to 66 to take, Jules? No, my
7 to 8
my
months.
shipyard is not 56. I don't know. Has the game not uploaded yet or updated?
No, it doesn't really matter.
I
It's
didn't
already
think-
updated because it's not showing you any 5-star materials required.
Yeah,
so
that's what
you
I
can
thought,
say
yeah.
your starting point is 0, and it's going to show you the same cost.
Yeah. So you can see here that was just it doesn't matter because it already shows what's complete and what I have on hand and everything. It already knows what's complete. That being said, I mean, we're talking 100,000 G6 uncommon, and this is with my efficiencies. All right, these are with efficiencies. I'm 27 million Sigma steel away. I mean, this is a lot. All right, and I don't feel like this is a month or two's worth of stuff.
How many uncommons do you have on hand right now?
78,000 roughly uncommon gas.
That's a lot.
107,000 uncommon crystal. And
So why do you think it's going to take you that long to get there?
Jesus.
You're a lot closer on the uncommons than you think. It's the rares that are going to be a long time, and it could be the Sigma resources. So that's another reason.
Rares if you push up your ops.
Yep. I've unlocked. I'm at Op 64 for a reason. I'm at Op 64 because the material refinery gives me rares. I am Op 64 because a lot of events give me rares, and because a lot of other bundles that offer materials will actually give me rare. And I'm getting a lot more Sigma resources at Op 64 now as well. And I'm using, as we talked earlier, I'm aggressively pushing that Motivine bundle because I think I'm going to need all, as you say here, 27 million Sigma par steel. I don't think it's going to take me a month to do a mad dash to 66. That's ridiculous. I do think it's going to take me 6 to 7 months. To me, can I work through that 6 to 7 months with a G5 Epic? I'm here to tell you I haven't found a challenge yet that is telling me no, I can't.
Okay. Whew. These numbers do look staggering, though. I mean, in all fairness, they look staggering. You don't think they are? I need 30,000.
Every number is staggering.
I need 30,000 G6 rare gas. I need 34,000 G6 rare crystal. 41,000 G6 rare ore.
Part of the reason that you barely have any at all is because you're still 62, though. As you go up in ops, your income for the rare is going to increase as you get closer to 66. Especially 64 being the big jump, because then it does show up in just the regular refinery. Right?
If I did go to Op 66, I could score 500 million points in an auction, which, by the way, still would not win a G6 auction. Just throwing that out.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
Not even close. I might get top 25 with that score. Just throwing that out there. All right. So that was my
back
peak.
of napkin math.
Yeah.
Back of napkin math for me. I probably get 10,000 rare of each type each month.
Oh, really? All right.
So 30,000 will be a stretch. I did buy the Vindicator, but I did not buy anything else. So that is just through acquisition of other bundles, other places, events, otherwise. But yeah, I am telling you, like, it is, yes, it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be easy. But when I have compared how long it would take me if I also built a tier 9 Minerva, and then I also hear what the Minerva does for a lot of players that I can't do. Okay, Matters has a point. He uses it for warp range. He can get to a higher hostile, but that's not really
I got a Negbar. Klingons for me.
okay. Fair point, but that's not really a struggle that I'm running into. I think the only advantage that I would see as a player would be to get it to tier 9 in order to build the cube. But there is another reason, and that's something we already talked about. So if you go to the next slide, is reason for G6 Uncommon the hazard resistance that it gives you, because the ship itself has its ship ability is hazard resistance. And that shouldn't be
research that gives all your ships hazard resistance.
Correct. Yeah, because other ships within that faction more resistant. Not a crazy amount, but it does give it more. So there is an advantage to acquiring that and using that for your dailies. So there may be a point at which I'm backtracking and I'm going to build my G6 Uncommon when I'm much further down in my G6 land to make my hazard dailies less painful. I honestly don't see that happening. But I do know that that is a possibility for some players.
There's another benefit too. Arenas.
Arenas and PvP. I think PvP is the big reason for it.
I was enjoying being matched up with other people that were 63, 64 who did not have a G6 ship that they were bringing out.
Yeah, but
depending on even those max G5s, I was making short work of them.
I mean, what tier is your G6 Uncommon right now?
5.
Tier 5. What? Okay. I don't know. I was looking at
maybe
like
it's just other stuff that I have, but I have never been one to focus on PvP anything. I got no PvP primes. I got no PvP. I don't get anything PvP unless I'm required to, because it's a prerequisite for something else.
You have Tantalus tech on that ship? No. Okay.
No. I didn't buy that. God, if I don't get PvP primes, I didn't buy a PvP forbidden tech. No,
it's good tech.
No, I mean I had a mirror.
I don't know, Kazdorf. I went and played in arenas against a bunch of what felt like max G5 epics, and they just mopped the floor with me. I went in with a tier 10 Dailies, and mine was half the power of people that I was fighting against. I don't even understand how that's possible. I honestly, I don't even know how. Like, my tier 10 Dailies is 1.5 billion, and there was 2.5 billion Enterprise Ds in there that were just mopping the floor with me. I have a
max ND, and Andy's here in this chat went up against me in arenas and just wiped the floor with me with his 2.5 million.
Andy just
G5
rocked
epic.
my world, dude. He did. Andy rocked me, man. I mean, I needed a cigarette.
I think there's a lot of PvP differences in player that just the ship itself isn't necessarily a reason to get it. It's just
I don't
more
think
powerful.
It is the ship itself. I had no trouble against anyone that I was up against until one guy flew in with a Minerva and he got me.
Yeah. Okay, we gotta keep going.
Let's
get this
bigger
through.
Minerva.
Last category is G6 solo FK Armadas because it's a new thing. Welcome to G6. Here's a new thing for you to do. I've got a quick location chart here. What you'll notice is starting with the rare 66s, but even the epic 64s and above, a lot of these places are in hazard space. So we were talking earlier about like, I have only got like 4 minutes in this hazard system. What can I hit? Well, when I do my Armada grind, I'm hitting the 65 uncommons, I'm hitting the 66 rares, I'm hitting the 64 epics. All of those are in hazard systems. So I typically go in there, boosted, and I get to my Armada, I speed it up, I do 2 or 3 on a run. So just something to kind of think about, that hazard resistance may also be an issue as you start running these. What are FKR Armadas good for? I've got a quick loot table here for almost all. Missing some 70 data for G6 epics, but you're getting hazard particles, and this is the big one. This is basically the only sourcing for rare hazard particles, which is a new expansion to that tree. Offer some good time efficiency stuff, and consistent galactic acclaim tokens as well, including more Sigma resources and materials and speed ups. So we were talking about speed ups earlier. Here's another way of getting some more speed ups as well. So these are, I don't know. I feel like when these came out, we were upset because they were too easy for a lot of players.
Boring.
They seemed kind of boring because they were too easy for a lot of players that were already in G6. And we got kind of annoyed that they were bogged down with G5 materials and ship parts. But even if you ignored those, you're still getting a good amount of materials and Sigma resources and speed ups as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rewards.
Have you found that your struggle? Let me rephrase the question. I cannot run rares nearly as often as I feel like I should be able to. Like, I have been running the solo uncommons since they came out, and I think I've only been able to run like 3 or 4 rares at this point. Is that right?
No.
You guys are getting a bunch of rares?
You're not. Yeah, you're not. How many uncommon directives do you have?
A gazillion. I mean, I don't certainly.
Well, maybe that's your problem. You gotta hit more.
But I do double pulls almost every day.
And you've only been able to run 2 or 3 rares.
Well, no, it might be a little more than that, maybe 5 or 6, but it's certainly not like a ton. I'm just wondering if there's better sources of the rare directives, or I mean, you got to look at the chest. 35 rare directives. 35 rare directives in one, but it takes 200 just to do one armada.
If you triple chest, then you can do a rare armada every 2 days.
Yeah.
You guys triple chest?
I don't.
Me neither. Can't afford it.
I'm playing the hoarding long game. I'm doing the 2 chest pulls right now, just to hoard, and I'm waiting for events to spend it all.
I do 2 to 3 because I've got directives out the whatever. So I know if I get in a tight spot, I can force myself to sit down and just run a bunch. But again, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm hitting 58s, so I don't have to do many to be able to do a lot of like higher pulls.
Well, but the chests don't pay more rare directives per.
The chests don't pay more rare directives, but if I'm able to double and or triple, like every other day, kind of flip between double and triple, I'm going to be getting 50% more than, like half of 50, 25% more than you.
It's also something to do with like punching up or not too, like whether you can punch up higher.
Well, and see, that's just it.
Do that.
My warp range. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to go back.
Yes.
Warp range
Why
is
those
a big
uncommon shit?
Yeah, that's a big limiting factor for me. I can't get to the 65. Biggest I can do is the 62 uncommon, and I believe that I can get to the 63 rare. That's all I can reach with the G5 epic.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree, and that is where
base you can reload there, but in the Romulan ones, or all 3, I think, right? The rares.
But that's
they're on the
again,
chart.
it's
they
just
have a
rare.
little star.
Yeah, it's rare 63 only. The deeper ones don't have it. So like I could get to rare 63, but I can already get there. There's no housing systems deeper than that. So yeah, you're going to be stuck on being able to try to hit more, and I can't even get to the epic 64 right now myself.
And that may be a reason why some players are going to go for the G6 uncommon. And I'm getting away with being able to hit the ones I'm hitting because I have Disco Prime.
Stupid Prime.
I'm using my taxi. And to be honest, the Eviscerator will replace that eventually. And you'll be able to take that Eviscerator and take multiple ships up to these Armada sizes. But for right now, I'm using the Disco Prime to get hit as high as I possibly can. And I wish, honestly, I could hit higher because they just don't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the experience for everybody. So I did want to share a couple of screenshots. And then I've actually shared a couple more in the circle just to kind of show a variety of experiences people are having hitting against these. So I use all the tools when I go and hit any of the Armada targets I'm doing. I'm using boosts. I'm using Lorca's Fist. I'm using exocomps. And I haven't found a target. This is the highest thing I can reach. I cannot reach any higher. And it's just not really a problem for me. So this is my experience. Say again?
I don't use those because of the hazards. You can only kill 2 or 3.
Exactly.
So I don't want to waste a.
What else are you using it on?
True that.
Like Lurker's Fist, it just resets every 8 hours. It's free. It doesn't charge. It doesn't cost me anything.
Oh, I know, but I reload up there, and I'm gonna keep flying back, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fly in there 4 or 5 times and kill 2 or 3 each time.
Okay.
But I can't do that if I'm relying on the boost, because I don't want to come back again in the next few days to have to do it again. So I'll use Cerritos and maybe the Defiant if I remember. I always forget that one, but
and it's you're
I
right.
won't Max Fortify or Lorca's Fist.
Yeah, without taxis, a lot of times the Defiant boost will run out before you can even do the warp time up there. So if you're not using a taxi to get your ship up there quickly, your warship up there quickly, a lot of these boosts are kind of pointless. So that makes sense in a lot of ways that if without the Disco Prime, maybe you can't.
No. I'll fly up and I'll relocate into a closed system so that my flight time into the Armada system is only like a minute. But
yeah, for sure.
So then I'll use the boost.
But again, that presumes that you can warp out of your reload system. And again, I mean, obviously
exactly.
a G6 is going to let you do that. But yeah, the G5 Epics are not.
G6 Epic, we want to hit higher.
Yeah.
So if you want to show the next slide, this is Matter's victory chest against a 68 uncommon using his G6 ship. And so this is the one that doesn't include any boost, or is this the one with Cerritos boost?
This one didn't have any boost. The 68s I'll use the Cerritos boost.
Yeah, so this kind of shows how easy they are, and you can see the black bar there is probably just the hazard damage that you took just getting your ship there, I presume.
Or
if the black bar would have been from the hazard, so the red would have been from, and that shield regen is just from the that's from the Nova Squadron, the Starpath research. I love that.
DJs, if you could take a small pause and actually go into the circle, I posted a couple of different screenshots from low G6 players with not max tier J5 epics as a good kind of balance point for players who are just walking into this. So here we see a 61 player using their Enterprise D and their Borg Cube against a 61 uncommon, doing fairly well. But if we go to the next screenshot, here is a person even with more ship power coming in with a more total strength and just getting rocked by the same 61 hostile or same 61 armada. So there is some variability in here if you're a player who has not focused on your armada research. And yes, I'm including damage to armadas in here. That could be a big problem. Crit damage against armadas and using boosts, to be honest with you, to get that crit chance up. Because right now, I think there's a lot of crit damage research against armadas that have been stacking up over time to give you just massive amounts that you really need to focus on getting crit chances and crit armadas up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like Forgotten Sex says, like you gotta focus a little bit more on crewing too when you're up here. As much as we like to say, hey, punch up and use loot crews to kind of make those bundles more manageable. DJs, you're struggling with some of your bundle redeems right now and getting enough to get rare directives. I think players who are using, this player has a, tier 6 Enterprise D, has a cube up as high as, was that tier 12 Borg cube?
Yeah.
And isn't really able to use a lot of loot crews, looks like. But if we go back to the presentation, there was actually a slide that was prepared by Tarpy, our good friend, with some of the FKR faction research against specific armada types. A lot of this stuff is damage based, but it can still make a big difference. Like a lot of these things can rack up. You get 150% here, 100% here. You can start getting a great amount of damage boost kind of built up. So it'll be a slide after this one.
Boom.
So,
Got it.
Yeah. So I think that we've kind of joked about damage a lot in the past, but with this being new content and with a lot of players just entering this field with, not needing a max G5 epic or not needing to rush to get a G6 uncommon ship, we're starting to see that you actually do need to focus a little bit back on research as well. Take a look at your fleet commanders, take a look at your forbidden tech. Remember that there is forbidden tech that says it's for hostiles that also works against armadas. So make sure you select those as well. That is it. Final thoughts.
Woo! There's a lot here. There's actually more than I would have expected out of the entry to G6 Guide. And the reason that it pleases me that there is so much more here with the entry guide to G6 is because it's actually unique and different content. And that's kind of what I really have so far been enjoying. Even tonight, Jules, you're talking about a couple of strategies. Some of the strategies that I've been doing, right? You and I have talked about it over the last couple months and that I've already been starting. But even tonight, giving me a little bit of pause in whether or not I should be working on progression a little bit quicker, whether or not I should look at the G6 uncommon and looking at things like reputation gain. There are different ways, as Jules mentioned in the beginning, to play G6. And just the simple fact that it actually feels a little bit more thought out than what G4 and G5 was. And that we have seen markedly timely adjustments to the economy to allow G6 to kind of breathe and evolve a little bit for those players who are coming in. A lot of what we talked about tonight is very free to play possible. And while someone says that G6 is not free to play, I don't know, man. People are starting to get there. All right? It's really, you're not that far out. And listen, maybe it's free to play, maybe it's $20 battle pass. You know what I'm saying? But it could be very light engagement. It could be $20 battle pass with the occasional $100 pack, maybe, that gets you to where you're knocking on the door here. And there's very simple strategy and very clear strategy in progressing through early G6 that doesn't require you to open your wallet. So I kind of like that. And like I said, I kind of summarize with, I have enjoyed my G6 experience here so far, and I'm even now maybe kind of rethinking some of this a little bit as to how I'm going to continue to progress. Again, very special thank you to Tarpy for organizing a lot of this, helping organize some of the data collection throughout our laboratory, and of course to Jules, Matters, and Blue for assembling a great deal of the data. But Jules and Matters for sure, absolutely on the presentation of it. Thank you guys so very much. What a wonderful guide! Griffin is going to have a good time making a video out of this, because this is this one will withstand the test of time. Very, very well done. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for JulesVern. Yeah. They did. They crushed it. Jules, as you're getting ready to wrap up, I'd like to know your final thoughts. You're asking us your final thoughts on G6 after having seen all this and analyzed all the data. Is there anything that you're doing that you want to adjust, or do you still feel like you're on the right path? Is there anything that you learned while preparing this class?
Yeah, I think as I've been going through this, the G6 experience itself and rethinking it, I find so much more value in the taxis, the Disco and the Eviscerator than I ever did before.
Yeah.
Just the ability to punch up, the ability to even make the decision to skip a G6 uncommon is not possible without a taxi. So I enjoy that. And yeah, I think that it's also appreciating all the sources of Sigma and continuing to look for new sources and invest in that as they become available.
You're telling me that I either buy Disco Prime or I buy G6 Uncommon? I do not like the sound of that. All right, G-Mini, Christmas, I do not like the sound of that. All right, questions from the audience. 5 minutes, questions from the audience as we get ready to wrap up on the G6 entry guide here tonight. Let's see. Rob says, thank you for the hard work on putting this thing together. Absolutely. I don't see any questions. I see people talking about Disco Prime versus Slipstream. If you were going to look at one, what's better than the other? I mean, Disco Prime is not just $100.
Well, the Slipstream is helpful because it also provides, shield mitigation, other benefits that can help you in your hostile crew. But
I mean, I've got it. That's why that in that screenshot, the Armada still had like 60% of his shields left, because Slipstream round over round reduces their shield mitigation. So I was able to avoid the shields and go straight to the hull.
All right. Nura says, about to build
the best PvE.
Nura says, I'm about to build the Minerva because I have an Akira, so why not? Not hitting 66 anytime soon. I have too much rare. Jules, your reaction?
Too much rare. I don't know how to react to that. Can I have
it? Well, I was thinking myself, too much rare. I feel like you probably want to bank that. I feel like you probably want to sit on that for a minute because, I mean, you're going to use it. All right, you're absolutely going to use that. So the Kaviji Slipstream is a new forbidden tech that was launched, and it has a pretty significant warp range boost. So it's a forbidden tech that you can put on a ship, and what is it? I mean, it's significant. Isn't it like 10 or 12% boost? Might even be more than that.
It maxes out at 15, but people can't get maxed.
The highest you could probably go is like 13%.
I think
that's
logical.
13%. I mean, it's
a free grush. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. But it also
14.
has some very, very helpful combat abilities as well. It's also it gives reduces shield mitigation of the enemy, increasing each round, like I had said. It also gives you a crit chance boost, and also a significant, once you get it high enough into your significant shield health boost. And it's it is the only FT that works PvE against, it works against everything. PvP, PvE, mission bosses, armadas.
Yeah.
Is it the only one? I think it is. I mean, everything has a hull health boost, which obviously works all the time, but
yeah. All right.
It's swell.
Well, there you go. All right, guys. JulesVern, thank you so very much for the incredible work you put onto this, and we'll be looking forward to it. So I assume that you're ready to start on the G4 entry guide now that you've got this one done. You can have a day off if you want.
No, I'll start prepping the G7 entry guide.
G7 incoming. Incoming. All right, guys. Thank you so very, very much. Appreciate everybody for hanging out, and of course to our special presenters tonight for putting an absolutely amazing show on. Iron Chef, thank you for the 100 kitty bitties. Thank you so very, very much. I really appreciate that, and thank you for the great Halloween costume idea. Jules, just out of curiosity, what was your Halloween costume for this year? What did you do?
My entire family went as Frozen characters, so I was Sven.
Oh, you're so cute. Matters, what about you? What did you do for Halloween?
I took my little girl out. She was Sky from Paw Patrol.
Very good.
It's nice. Last year she got sick, so she made it to about 3 houses last year and then wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And, so this year was great. It'll be the earliest one she remembers that she actually managed to finish.
Oh, well, that's great. Appreciate you guys taking the time here on Halloween. Our timing probably could have been a little bit better. We've got more content coming for you this weekend, along with a very special surprise. So be sure to keep an eye out on the announcements channel. Seth, thank you for your 1,000 kitty bitties. Thank you. Oh, you're so cute. And your biceps just grew ever so slightly. They're still small, though. Thank you so very much, dude. I appreciate you. Tarby, you as well. And all of you at home in our live studio audience and on recorded playback, thank you guys so very much for supporting the channel, or being in our live studio audience, consuming our content here. Would like to invite you to visit our website at TalkingTrekSTFC.com. That's TalkingTrekSTFC.com, where you will find links over to our Twitch, our YouTube, where there is apparently a very, very cool new feature. I don't know if this is an Android thing, but somebody was telling me about this cool thing that like auto summarizes our YouTube podcast playbacks. I don't even understand how this thing is working, man, but this is super, super cool, Jules. I'm going to have to show that off on a future stream, but it's like automatically doing like time marks and bookmarks and stuff. It's, yeah, Spectre, Gemini. That's what they called it. I don't know anything about how it works, but it's brilliant, and I freaking love it. You guys can check that out over there. Also, you'll find a link over to our Patreon page where you guys will have the opportunity to support the channel financially, and of course, I really do appreciate that. Now with 2 new levels. The new Studio B access merged in with the Talking Trek access for some of our exclusive club DJ set playbacks from Studio B, which we will be broadcasting live from this coming weekend. You can go back in the day, way back throwback, with Ultimate DJs on the Wheels of Steel, the 1s and 2s, to take you back to your youth, and we have a lot of fun in doing that. That is available as a link from our website at ultimatedjsplays.com. Talking Trek is a registered trademark and recorded in front of a live studio audience for distribution across podcast platforms everywhere. I am your friendly neighborhood cat person, Ultimate DJ, saying meow for now. Love you, minute. We will catch you on the next one. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so very, very much. And let's raid over to somebody having an absolutely amazing Halloween night. All the DJs are having a great time here for Halloween. We are going to take care and raid into one of my newer friends. This is Skittish and Bus. They are an amazing DJ team, and they are hanging out tonight for Halloween. And for your gifts and subs tonight, you can actually redeem Halloween costume changes. That's happening tonight over with Skittish and Bus. My name is DJ. Thank you so very much for being here. Love, peace, and hair grease. Meow for now, everybody. Good night. Meow.